We know in every engineering, every state, I am sure that, or every engineer graduating from CSC at least have studied the computer architecture. Am I right? I'm sure in many places it is true also IT people, and also it is true for EC students where they have also studied the computer architecture because of the importance of the computer architecture. Now, if I really ask you, everybody, I'm sure today at least every student has its own laptop or desktop, and mostly in the area of being an engineering student. And at the same time, every student is witness today having a smartphone on their hand. And I could see day to day they're using more than their laptops or desktops, smartphones today for day to day work and day to day education and day to day operations, be it professional, be it educational, be it any entertainment. And all the institutions and every premier universities, they have a course on computer architecture. There, the students are using desktop computers, laptop computers. I could say that I never seen any university that is talking about the mobile architecture, where every student have a mobile, but not talking about mobile architecture. So, where we introduced a course on mobile architecture and programming. You can see today what is the architecture. Is it computer architecture is same as the mobile architecture? If the same, then why can't I able to program the way I program in my desktop PC or my laptop? Why can't I use the same operating system which I use it? Why can't I use the same processor, hardware, software, peripherals I use it in the same domain of mobile architecture or mobile devices? Yes, I'm sure you will see the hardware side similarities and dissimilarities, and the software side similarities and dissimilarities, and also at the programming side similarities and dissimilarities. So the programmer who programs the desktop applications won't be able to program the mobile applications, and reverse is also true. So we witness that the same hardware used in the mobile is not the same hardware used in the desktop, and the same IOS used in the desktop is not the same in the mobile. But then why can't we have a course on mobile architecture the way we teach our students the computer architecture? So that's the base. I'm sure that when we are able to make use of the hardware, software, and programming aspects, both mobile as well as the desktop, and we understand where we are, what direction we need to go, and how we need to set up a lab or how we need to teach in the classroom. We are all teaching community sitting here. So, can I go for my slides? So, we see that in three directions how the mobile architecture is differentiated with the computer architecture, and then we take up a platform what we are going to see build your own smartphone in proposed architecture. Then we interface and we build the hardware, and then later we build the software, and then we program at the top. So in three directional freedom we are trying to see during under 5 days in terms of hardware architecture, in terms of software architecture. When I say software architecture, especially the operating system side, and then we say on the programming side, how are we going to have the freedom being given to me a platform on the open source environment. So we will. Okay. HDMI cable, HDMI cable converter, back, laptop back on. The laptop bag, yes. Sorry for the little interruption. So discuss about in detail the hardware architecture or software architecture of the mobile. Then we'll go in detail about how the processor is differentiated in the mobiles and the desktops. And then what are the components of the mobile device, then the software architecture and programming. At last, we will see in terms of hardware, in terms of software, in terms of OS, how these two architectures are similar and dissimilar, and if they are similar, in what aspects they are similar, if they're dissimilar, in what are those aspects it's dissimilar, and then we know what is the additional things we need to learn and introduce in the lab and introduce in the course content make mobile architecture as a front course to the engineering students. So we introduced this course in both in BTech and MTech students, both in CSC for MTech as well as BTech as by name as mobile architecture and programming. So going to the slide. Okay, you see what is the title? Components, common hardware of. I say that have a peripheral and any computer, one thing is common, that's the processor. If there is a processor, I need to have a memory. Why? Can memory and processor exist independently? No, they have to be associated in any computer. So when I have a processor, I need a memory. When I need a memory, then I need address data buses, which there are some buses, and then I need some input output peripherals by which I am able to get the input to the computer and same time see the output from the computer and finalize and analyze my results out of that. Now, hardware architecture which is provided here, given to you, name this hardware or name this block diagram. What do you do? What is this block diagram means? Name the block diagram. This is the question given to you. What do you name it? How many people say embedded systems? Please raise your hands. Okay. Then anything else? Program architecture? Program architecture or code program architecture? Okay. Anything else, please? Block diagram of what? Block diagram of a computer. Block diagram of embedded system. Somebody said yes, please. Exactly. This is the block diagram of a computer. You know, your embedded system is a computer. Your mobile is a computer. Your desktop is a computer. Even the LCD projector is a computer. There's so many computers. Because need not be desktop computers, need not be server computers, need not be my laptop or top or mobile. They are computers. Anything that have a processor, memory, and executing it is a computer to us. But these are different classes of computers. We classify very broadly these computers in terms of embedded systems, where 98% across the world, the, the computers are belongs to an embedded world. That means 98% of processors produced in the world are just meant for embedded systems, and only 2% are meant for desktop computing, or 1 to 2% for desktop world. So you can imagine that within the embedded, you may get even the desktop, you may get the mobile also a part of embedded. But if we classify today these processors, I must, this is my own perception that we have a processors for the desktop systems, we have a processors for servers, and we have a processors for mobile, and we have a processors for embedded systems. So I can classify these four different families of the processors that are available in the world. Now, the way the block diagram is set by you is very right. This is the block diagram of a computer. It may pertain to an embedded system, that's true. It may pertain to a desktop system, it's true. It even pertains to the mobile, is also true. But then, if it is true, you have a subject on embedded systems you study and you teach, both in undergraduates and MTech in specialization. They have been dealt separately because of certain characteristics which is differ from desktop to the embedded world. In the similar manner, it's time to think of all faculty we are sitting here. Why can't we introduce the mobile architecture? If it is same, why we have embedded systems? Why we have server architecture? And we know that the domain of the the mobile world and the applications and the processors and the diversity across the globe, high time to think in that direction, and at least we understand and develop the academic resources required to go ahead with this kind of approach. So we will see in this particular architecture class how these different two worlds which pertain to the pertain to the desktop world and the mobile world, how are they are different in terms of various parameters we are going to see this. Let's talk about, and that's why I did not given the name in the previous diagram, basic block diagram of, you name it any computer, which is true. But then, when we talk about this course pertaining to the mobile architecture, what's the basic block diagram? Which components are different? So I request you, the slides will be given at the end of the class or at the end of the day. Please concentrate. Any specific points you please note down. Now to look into this, the similarities with the previous block diagram. You have a memory, sorry, every computer processor, of course, coexist with the memory. Input output peripherals, they're all I/O peripherals. Of course, the power and audio management, because the mobile is the one hardware where power optimization is very, very important issue and very, very research-oriented topic. Power optimization in mobile devices. Then, I'm sure that no mobile is basically these devices are meant for communication initially, so you need to have a communication module. So here we have a baseband processor, and that talks about primarily the GSM communication, and you have the SIM associated with it. So the architectural difference in one nutshell, if I say some of the IOs are different, or I may even reuse those same IOs, but one thing is that very importantly, the application processor might be changing, might be changing, processor is going to change, and there are some additional peripherals that are going to change. So this is the one abstract block diagram which you might understand by this time. As you all know that the computer architecture, the mobile architecture differs by some means, except the computing, but the communication, input output peripherals, the graphics that it has to handle, they are different. Next.
Sir,
Yeah, please.
I think all these are input output devices. When it is same, when it is a baseband processor, it is a like IO processor is there. But I'm not able to understand how we are differentiating this mobile.
Wait. I will be going to little more detailed diagram. Please wait, I'll answer your question. This is not only yes, now you will. But very strictly with my first block diagram I showed to you. There's so much of commonalities in every computer, but that much common differences also exist. You are looking in one side where there are commonalities, both in embedded world. I said that the mobile is also a family of embedded systems and it's derived from the embedded world. The basic phone which it came, it's very example to the embedded systems. Those books, if you read it, the example of embedded system, you say that mobile devices. Today, you show me any book, new book written on, it's very difficult to say an embedded system and as an example of mobile device or a smartphone. The smartphone is not an embedded; it's more as a desktop or more than the desktop today.
How to classify embedded system and computer system?
I am going to cover you that topic. I am going to cover you. We have slides for that. So I cover you how are these computers are differentiated. Okay, but let me take you detailed architecture to make you how these different computers are different in what parameters. Take down. As I said, one of the computing fact, any computer we need to have a processor and you need to have a computing platform for that. So let's say I want to design a smartphone. I need to choose a computing platform for that because I don't assume that in this course I'm not going to design any individual components for my design of the smartphone. Rather, I'm going to choose the elements or choose the components and right components. I select it from the families existing across the world, and finally I would like to bring it my smartphone design. So in that aspect, this block diagram is derived. I have a class of families of computing platforms that suits for my application. So here is an embedded or freedom board. I could build the mobile or smartphone with this. The second version I have the Raspberry Pi or Intel Galileo. Then also have the Snapdragon or LilyPad or Atom or of an Intel Atom-based processor. These are some of the platforms which I am working. I'm not going to say that I'm not working something else. There may be many more options that are available to us. Among this, for my smartphone, which is more, I need little more flexibility in terms of computational aspects. in terms of various IOs. So based on the IOs and the processor speed and the cost, I have chosen the Raspberry Pi to be the right platform, and I'm not going to discuss about other platforms because of the content. However, in offline, I can discuss about other computational platforms that are available. So for me, among some of them, I have chosen the Raspberry Pi as a basic computer platform for building my smartphone. Let us do that. After having done the computational platform selection, now I need to choose the IOs. So what IOs I need to have? We have to have in the smartphone segment like mic, speaker, camera, touch screen. These are some of the input output basic IOs I need to have. So we have incorporated all of them in your phones or in our smartphone device. Of course, when I need to choose within the touch screen, there are various options using the camera, and individual element selection will be covered in the respective topic in detail. Having selected IOs and having selected computational platform, next important component in mobile segment comes into the picture. Let's say OS. What kind of operating system I may have? Can I able to choose on Windows Phone? Can I able to work on iOS? No. The reason is I have choose the open domain where I could able to interface the way I selected component. My component which I have selected has to be interfaced with the OS. But if that interface for that component is not available, I may not be able to build my product. So I need a open environment to understand if it is already existing, you do it. If not, you try to provide that interface. And in the case of Windows Phone or iOS, which is proprietary in nature, and you need completely different methodology to do so. So I have not gone for that. We've chosen the two platforms. One is the Linux and the other one is the Android. So to first product of this is on Linux based, and we are working on the Android platform as well. We did it for some of the computational platforms, but we have not yet done for Pi 2 with Android. Okay, so we have a complete course on how we build a kernel. For my project on Linux, we will do this. So I have now chosen the software architecture, the OS architecture as a Linux. So why is Linux? Because it's open source, the interfaces are available, and if one person is not, then the other person we can figure it out, and it's easy to build because the documentation, the openness, the source code available, so we could able to customize the way I like it for my own application of building the smartphone. Next important thing, there is no smartphone without communication. We need to figure out what kind of communication interfaces I need to incorporate. So my idea here is not to only make a smartphone, but rather teach the concepts in the real environment with these communication platforms. So when I say communication platforms, there are two kinds of platforms. One is wired communication, other one is wireless communication. We wanted to give the balance between these two and introduce and teach filters that how am I going to do wired interfaces and wireless interfaces. Wired category, we have incorporated the Bluetooth at present. Wi-Fi we have not taken review because in the other decades, but we leave the Wi-Fi with the Galileo and the Edison board. Then GSM, GPS we have incorporated, which is being provided to you with the Raspberry Pi 2. These are the except the Wi-Fi, the three communication modes of wireless means the most popular wireless means of communication and the hardware is provided to you. And we will discuss each one of that in the individual topic. Of course, then wired protocols, we are using the UART communication, that is serial communication. Then we also using the USB communication, but we also working some sensors interfacing there by I2C as well. So three wired communications we are discussing. One is UART, that's serial, and then other one USB, then I2C. Only cost. No, it's only cost. Cost of the I have a budget constraint. It's nothing else. We have interfaced with the other boards. If you want, you can interface Wi-Fi. There is hardly no matter. There is no other reason. We can interface Zigbee, we can interface Wi-Fi, and there is only everything is not required. We wanted to have some means of wireless communication, and this is the only reason. It's to cut down our cost of the kit. If you want to keep, I can add Bluetooth, I could add NFC, I could add RF, any RF, other RF communication. Basically, there is no other reason why I not use it. Only technical, there's only budget reasons. Okay? Yes. And I'm coming to the maths next one. Any other details, any queries, please? There is no other technical details why I'm not. You can very well use the Wi-Fi. Okay, this is the only non-technical issues why we not use this. Basically, the cost. Similarly, the Bluetooth. Similarly, the NFC. And I have a GSM for long distance and Bluetooth for short distance. So I really don't find need for my Wi-Fi interfaces. That's also one reason why we omitted in the first phase of design of Wi-Fi. So if I need to communicate for long distance, I can use GSM. Okay, in the short range, I could use the Bluetooth, which is widely accepted and taught. So this is the only reason why we omitted Wi-Fi communication. So we have an internet. Internet is available. You can connect your board on the network. Yes, yes. So on wireless, if you want, then you can use the Wi-Fi if you want. That we have not provided with the Raspberry Pi. There is no other technical reasons. So any questions, please? Okay. The next one talks about sensors and sensor interfacing. So why I really want to introduce in the smartphone my sensors? The only reason is the next smartphone segment, which I think that there is a lot of scope to have so much of sensors embedded, and that is this smartphone so far not only providing you the entertainment, communication, and computing, but also provides you lot much of information related to your health and related to your environment and some kind of detection of the early diseases, so that all these kind of applications you need to have sensors. And also one reason that we need to teach the sensors, sensor interfacing, and not need to make a wireless sensor networks. You need to make your test bed. You need to create your node. You need to create your sync node or base station. We have done with Raspberry Pi, creating the base node, a sync node, and a node for soil sensing. And we thought that there is high importance to be given for sensor networks. Many places teaching the sensor network either in the simulatory. I'm not against the simulators, but I'm also focused that you always teach in simulations. When do you do the real environment? I want to provide for simulators who are working fine work, but at least use these aspects to test your simulation results. I have a compact to build a generic node which can talk about n number of sensors by n number of communication means. So to start with, couple of sensors we have interface here, where environmental we taught at the temperature and the humidity. Then we talk about the light sensors, and these two sensors we have interface, of course, along with the camera and mic and clothing involved sometimes with the sensors. Okay. So otherwise, with Raspberry Pi, almost 20 different sensors we have tested is working very well, no doubt. But you need to change at times the APIs or the interfaces for that. So I'm sure that why I need sensors. Let's talk about the memory interfaces. Strictly speaking, the memory which is provided on board is enough to me. I have not interfaced any external memory, but only the card memory, the micro SD card, which you can buy if you need more storage. You just have it as an additional size, which you can do it. But otherwise, there is no much requirement of RAM or requirement of any flash. So we have not gone to additionally interface the memories. So, but in future, if requirement may persist, then we thought to have some kind of interfaces. But in this course, memory interfacing additionally not being covered. Okay, fine. As in the morning, discussing some of professors asking me that can we have a device drivers development. So there is a open environment which we APIs has been open a thread where we were working for quite a long time. So some of the APIs to be produced for this and release it in the future work. Okay. So if you look into this is the common hardware framework for developing any smart devices. It need not be a smartphone, it could be any smart device, which on the roles of open source hardware and software. Okay, you can some of the boards though they exist in proprietary, but you can very well choose the open source hardware and software as well. So before I moving to software architecture, let me take a we have chosen for my building smartphone or my own smartphone or your smartphone, the computational platform is Raspberry Pi. iOS as it is the touch mic and speaker. Then environmental sensors has temperature and humidity. And then one component I forgot to that is the local database. And I'm sure that many teachers teach database courses, which is so important. But how many of the teachers really teaching on the real-time databases? You know that every mobile has a real-time database. The contacts, the emails, all the information that's pertinent, they have SQL database and some various kinds of databases available. Now, you can really write the code either on own your devices to access the database is one thing. You can go ahead. We have a course on mobile education kit or database set of experiments have been created. How to create a table on that and store your data. You can store the sensor data real time, which is coming up on then access when the threshold is coming up and push on to the email or push on to the SMS. And we want to show that in the later part of the course, the sensor data which is coming up, let us store in the local database, real-time data. We're not creating dummy data. And then process that data and provide the results, maybe some threshold results. If temperature is, let's say, the room temperature is 25, and let's switch on it. Otherwise, keep on storing it. Or at the end of the day, what is an average temperature? You want to calculate. So for all such kind of data heuristics, you can use the database. So we also teaching you at the end. And we also introduce a small topic in the book. You can go to this. How do I create a web services on the same platform? Web services. You can create a website. You can use this as a local host. So, and thus the same hardware platform or the Build My Smartphone kit you can use not only to teach mobile related courses but also embedded, but also architecture and programming courses, Linux and other environments as well. Any questions you have? Now let us concentrate. The question which I need to address you, what is the difference between mobile architecture and computer architecture? Let us talk about the first component as the memory. In memory, can you imagine a desktop PC or a laptop without a hard disk? We never think of, we never imagine. Can you imagine a smartphone with the hard disk? So one of the memory changes, in architectural change in terms of mobile architecture and the desktop architecture, the memory interfacing is one thing. As the secondary memory, the disk memory is not there. So much of device drivers that need to be there in the OS or mobile devices and for the desktops is the lot much difference because the driver or disk reading and writing is completely different. there is no disk memories at all. If there is no disk memories, at the same time I need to have a file system on the mobile devices. How am I going to implement the file system? Then the new memory has to be introduced, which is nothing but the flash memory. Okay? So you have two types of flash memories. Of course, there is a limited flash memory in the desktops, which is really replacing the earlier ROM memories or EEPROM memories. But the size, if you compare it, is very, very huge. In terms of mobile, it is in gigabytes. In terms of in desktop, it's maybe a few megabytes. Thousand folds are different. Now, when I have two types of flash memory, primarily what is a flash memory? In many cases, I ask my students, at times even when I was learning, how is the flash? How is the difference between the flash and versus? Is it the same as a RAM? No. Is it the same as a ROM? No. Is it the same as EEPROM? No. Then what is flash? One sense, I always teach in terms of concepts, in terms of functionality. Flash is a non-volatile RAM memory. Concepts I'm saying in terms of functionality. Flash is a non-volatile RAM. What is a RAM? You can read it, erase it, write it n number of times. But it is volatile in nature. Power goes off, the content will go away. Whereas in the flash, you can do n number of times read, and also you can program it without any external hardware device. But the programming may take little time as compared to the RAM. But I'm not going in details, very minute details about this. But the flash memory is programmable, reprogrammable, and it is a non-volatile in nature. No external hardware is required to program. So just because of that, if you see in your contacts in the mobile device, you can edit, you can delete it, you remove the power till you have it. Can you able to do in a ROM memory? Can you able to do in EEPROM or EEPROM memory? So that is what the flexibility has brought by the flash memory into mobile segment. I'm talking about this is not in system programming. Flash allows you to do so. System programming is a method of programming a memory. Flash uses in system programming to program it. Okay? It need not be a flash, it could be any other. Okay? But you need to have a programming environment for that. Now, this is one of the biggest change in terms of memory, laptops versus desktop versus mobile segment. You have a huge amount of flash in terms of gigabytes. All the disk memory which you are using is a flash memory in the micro SD part. Okay. Now, again, there is a two types of flash memories. One is NAND memory, another one is the NOR memory. Like you have a RAM, two types of RAM, like let's say a cache memory and the static RAM memory. High speed static RAM is called as a cache, and it is a generally small in size, but whereas huge in dynamic RAM or which you use as a primary memory. Of course, we use the RAM memory in the mobile. The same amount of RAM approximately we use in the both desktop and mobile, almost approximately the same. You may use 2 GB of RAM. For example, the Raspberry Pi, I guess, have 1 GB or 2 GB, I guess. 1 GB of RAM. 1 GB of RAM in Raspberry Pi. It's not even a mobile actual. But if I buy some of the smartphones, you have a 2 GB of RAM. Okay? So RAM is more or less the same. And the cache is also more or less the same. But flash is not same. Completely, this memory is replaced by the NAND flash. Okay, now the RAM memory to certain extent or is replaced by a NOR flash. Suppose you say You have a bootloader. People thought bootloader in the uh, your computers. Now, bootloader is one which is not to be reprogrammed generally, not by the programmer, normal programmer, but it has to be in non-volatile in nature so that you do any time power goes, but it can boot and load the OS. Similarly, certain components of OS, certain components of the bootloader are loaded in the flash, one kind of flash, which is called the NOR flash, which is a like a high-speed flash memory as compared to the NOR flash. Sorry, NAND flash. NAND flash is like a secondary storage, your disk storage. Okay, you just dump it, and like in a disk, you store it. You cannot execute directly in the NAND flash. So now the question comes here: several cases. Is it the NAND memory, or is it the flash memory, is a main memory, or a secondary memory? Very NAND memory, which you have in pen drive, which you have in the micro SD card. This is called a NAND memory, which is an example of secondary memory. You cannot directly execute from that. In place execution is not possible. Like a RAM, like a ROM, you can execute directly. The address data buses are connected and you can directly execute by your processor. But in the flash of NAND inversion, won't support that. So it is as same as like a disk memory with RAM. So anything that you load it, all your music files, all your application softwares are permanently stored in the NAND flash. And when you need to execute, they will be brought into the NOR flash or into the RAM area, and then it will be executed. Okay. So whereas in the case of NOR memory, NOR flash, in possible, but it's little expensive as compared to that. It is as a trade-off between cache versus S.R.N. Okay, but they are volatile, but these two are non-volatile. So some of the OS codes, the bootloader, are loaded in the NOR flash. So they execute from there itself rather than transferring from the code. And that's the reason when you see this is the one reason that is witnessing to you the booting time. If I say compare the next parameter, booting time, what is the booting time of your smartphone versus your laptop? Which one will take more booting time? Desktop takes why? Because the OS has brought from secondary to the main, you can have, but whereas in the mobile devices, some of the OS modules are not stored complete in the disk in the NAND flash, rather main routines are stored in the NOR flash and in-place execution is possible. What is one? This is the one reason I'm talking. There is few more reasons why the booting time is. And another reason, you do not need so many drivers which is required, which you see any Windows desktop, any desktop PC, so many printers, device drivers are preloaded in the OS. Are we required in the mobile devices? The OS for the mobile devices, do we require? Not required. That also cut down your, but there is some more additional components you may require in the mobile because you need to support for audio, video, the communication components, additional communication. You may not need the GSM module in the desktop, but the supported module for NFC, GSM, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi may be there, some of them, but I do not need a GPI module in my desktop. Whereas this may be required in mobile in some cases. NFC you may have it in some of the desktops, you do not require it. So communication side, certain additional components are there, supported, and the contacts in various languages you need to support it. Functionality goes, it is not required in the desktop. But what is going to be happening slowly, mobile and desktop trying to converge. Your day might come, you do not distinguish the mobile and the laptop and the smartphone segment. Reason being is their conversion, and we may not see this all that stuff. We only say smart devices. We cannot distinguish is it the mobile or laptop or anything else. Like embedded systems, just a minute, sir. Just a minute. In embedded systems, we could easily distinguish 10 years down what is embedded system. Today, you give any definition. The embedded system definition is continuously changing. Earlier, the embedded systems is a single functional. Only one function I program it, it is going to do ever forever the same function. It doesn't allow you reprogrammability. But today, the range of functions an embedded system is doing is so complicated, so much functionality, and you can even reprogram it. How am I going to define? This?
think the technology change that speed, flash memory is as equivalent to RAM. Then there will be need for RAM in that case.
RAM is always needed. Reason being is flash memory speed and RAM memory speed is
Hypothetical. Technology comes to that level. My speed of my flash memory is as equivalent to the speed of RAM. Then RAM would be required or not?
you say the architecture of flash and the RAM is completely different. The behavior, the way it is being organized is completely different. So with that structural wise, if you say it cannot. But if you see the functionality wise, it can. See the architectural wise how RAM is being architectured and the flash is being architectured is not going to be. Okay. But when I say the functionality wise, I don't know what is RAM and NOM. I am talking about the user level, it can be. So hypothetically, it's possible, but it is not going to be possible technology wise.
Like if most of cache and RAM is same,
Assuming that. Okay.
then the RAM is not the is cache only.
No, you still need a RAM and cache. Reason is the principle is different. Let's say that NITRRs, all institutions, if you make NITRRs in the country, then the cost of the system you need to pay more. But only few NITRs can make every institute as an NITRR because they are going to train the teachers, they have few resources. At the same time, they are also going to train the students also. But many of our institutions is only focused to the students. If you make every institution as a NITRR, you can, but your resources is underutilized. So you can have a completely RAM and if you eliminate the RAM completely, you can use the flash, but you need to pay more. The same thing you can achieve with less cost. So it is something like I can travel from Delhi to Chandigarh by bus by just 1,000 rupees or 500 rupees. You take an airport and go to the airport for 2 hours and again from here 2 hours, it's almost same. So if you say I eliminate the road transport and only by air, then, but are you really getting a benefit? So in cost price, there is absolutely paying extra cost for no reason. Increase the cash amount for certain size, then it's not going to lead you better performance. Having like I could say I put otherwise, we need some money, but having excess money have any use? For every human being, we need money for all our purpose. Having millions of dollars, what do you do? So having more than enough a cash is also no use. Answer to you, yes.
Flash and not flash.
Yes.
In that specifically, you said the secondary memory is the mobile device.
Yes.
So where the not flash is used in mobile device?
I told you very clearly. Can you please tell me where NOR flash is being used? No. Can you please tell me anybody where is the NOR flash is going to use in a mobile device? Some portion of the operating system, your bootloader, are always loaded in the NOR flash.
So that is only the SD card is in your mobile.
In The SoC itself, I will show you. Within the SoC of a mobile device, you have a cache memory, you have a flash memory, you have a RAM memory, and SD RAM. I mean, the NAND flash you have as a external. So you may have, in some cases, within the SoC, I'll show you the block diagram later. In a single SoC itself, in a single chip or brick of silicon itself, you have cache, you have a RAM, you have even L2, L1, and the static and dynamic RAM, all kinds of RAMs and caches are available. And some portion of the flash is but ROM is not programmable, but NOR flash is programmable. That's what I want to say. It's not as same, but it replaces the ROM by a NOR flash. Even the NAND flash is also inbuilt. I have no common platform to say that. In many cases, inbuilt memory also exists as a NOR flash, NAND flash. Both flashes exist inbuilt itself. I say, and this is a difficulty to talk about any system in a real sense because there are so much close commonalities and differences. Anything else? Any?
We define the NOR flash likewise the new program.
Anything, any fast applications you want to store it, and this is as a custom designer. Let's say I am the designer of my mobile app developer. I want to build, let's say, this particular game, which is pre-built game, rather storing every time and bringing it. Let's by booting itself, I need a service. So I will bring it into the NOR flash, and I want to cut down my booting time. Let's have put more increase the NOR flash and cut down the NAND flash if required. But then the cost, there's a lot of difference between the NAND flash cost versus NOR flash. So there's so many issues which you need to pick up at the design time. Clear? I think then, please go back. Please go back. I think this is, you know that remote storage access to via network. We also use it when you do the SMS. The details are stored at the service provider end. That is. And I have only a couple of devices made with the disk memories also, but then the flash memories came very close to the disk memories. Then the concept of having a mobile device with this has been almost go down. And of course, we use the main memory here, both static and dynamic RAM in the memory. I'll show you some case studies. And the cache, you also use L1 and L2 both. Most of the smartphones, you have two levels of cache at different sizes. Then processor's internal memory locations, of course, you use the CPU registers and the register file in the ARM architecture, which exist as a memory. So I have a fastest CPU, then the cache L1, no, yes, L1 followed by L2, then main memory, then goes on. So the cost, the speed decreases like this. Cost also decreases like this. Access time increases like this. So the difference between memories. You understand? Okay. Next slide, please. I think this is a difference which I covered where there is an NOR flash access to direct memory space in case execution is possible. It's faster. It can directly addressable. So CPU directly executes it. And it's also called as a parallel because this is the reason why you can directly execute it. There is parallel bus. And whereas in this NAND flash, serially it is coming up. So in serially coming the data and you have a data bus parallel, there is a delay. Okay? So in place execution, you really not possible. So you have to bridge. That bridge is again a RAM or a cache. All the differences which we have already covered in terms of okay. Now, earlier I wrote a classroom. I strongly say there is a difference between processors from mobile to desktops. I feel it is it true what I am saying I have to questioning myself. Because if you see the Raspberry Pi, I have a complete Linux loaded, and there is no doubt it gives me under performance than my desktop PC. But my processor there is a ARM processor. I think so. This is the point where I'm trying to bring you. Have no definition is practically true. Years back, I go to a classroom strongly. I say ARM processors meant for not for desktops. Today, will you be able to say the same? That much confidently. Reason being, you have quad core, Linux is running, low cost. What makes the difference? Raspberry Pi, you know that the Kerala government is given Raspberry Pis and Linux platform they distributed for that much faster. Definitions are changing it. So to think of that as a teacher, if you teach continuously the same subject, same book, and timely, with the make it this point. Though I may be saying at this confidence, but it may not be true. Processors from ARM, basically 99 or 95% of processors produced for mobile devices are from ARM family. Okay, but the same concept you say 90 produced for desktops is from Intel, which is a high speed, high power. One sense you could say I can use the mobile processors as a desktop, but desktop processors as a mobile I won't be able to use. Reason being is the power consumption. The desktop processors takes at least few watts of power, few tens of watts. But mobile processors, no mobile processor will take more than one digit of watt. And this way you can distinguish today. If you would like to use your mobile processor as a desktop, it's fine, but reverse is not true. You name any processor which takes less than few watts, and that's why you need a fan or cooling system, including laptops, because they are high speed, of course, but at the same time they dissipate lot of amount of power and need lot of amount of power. And whereas mobile segment, they are basically the processors must be a low power in nature, which should at least take milliwatts or one digit figure, not going to be more than that. If it takes, then you need to carry big power source with us, so which is not a design acceptable. And that's the reason. And one more reason, it is not that we cannot increase the speed of mobile processors as it is increased in the desktops. If you increase the processor speed, then directly proportional to that speed, your power requirement increases. So when the power requirement increases, your battery dries. In most of the cases, why do you need your processor to run that much speed? Just utilize few 5 to 10% of processor speed full. Only when you do, and that's the reason when you do the high gaming applications, your power drive very much, it gets heated. And you talk about more in some communication, then also your processor takes more power because of transmission power requirements is huge, then the battery dies. But in normal SMS and other applications, you do hardly no matter it runs for the quite long time. So as and when the applications are changing the execution time or requirements of that applications, your GPU is running, your communication processor is running, your application maybe 80 different processors are running in at a time. Your power device heats up. Okay, so you require to have power requirement in mobile processors is very constrained, and low power is only suitable. So we have only two classes of processors at present, as far as my knowledge. One is the Intel Atom-based processors for low power applications, then ARM series of processors. This is the two classes of processors which I have seen, and maybe here in some few variants, but basically these architectures of the processors spreading across the entire mobile world of the processors. But if you go for the SoCs, now another important difference is you have a every mobile device is size constraint. So in order to meet that constraint, the processors, the architecture is a system on chip. So you have a system on chip SoCs for mobile devices, but there is no SoCs for desktop processors. The application processor desktop is separate, but no SoC has a separately other than the outside the SoC. Your application processor. Your application processor is sitting central within the SoC, along with the 20, 30 different ARM-based processors. You know how many processors are there in an SoC? The existing Qualcomm's or TI's OMAP 5 or Snapdragon 800, approximately 30 to 40 different processors are there within the SoC. I'm talking about only processors, including from 8-bit to 32-bit. The brick of silicon, you have a that many number of processors other than the memory, other than so many other components, at least 20 to 30 different processors and multi-cores, including graphics processor, application processor, a processor for GSM, GPS, Bluetooth, every communication you have a dedicated processor. Otherwise, you won't be able to speed up. Same architecture in the mobile. Sorry, is it the same architecture you use it in the desktops? You have no SoC for desktops. May use some SoCs for small purpose, but as a whole, you have no SoC. We have introduced a course SoC architecture for mobile devices. Why? Exclusively, we need to understand how are being discussed, how they support it. Does every SoC support every OS? No. Every OS doesn't support every SoC, and reverse is also true. Every SoC doesn't support every OS. When they need to design an SoC, you need to concentrate about the tools, concentrate about the firmware, and concentrate about the targeted hardware, software platforms in terms of OS. Yeah. So this is again one new change, which is bringing into the mobile architecture, which is not the same as the desktop architecture. So that is the reason you have some of the basic SoCs which is driving in the complete mobile world is the Snapdragon SoC and the Qualcomm Snapdragon SoC from the Qualcomm, OMAP from the TI. These are the two popular, but TI is almost cut down their SoCs for mobile segment, but they are however working for the industrial applications. But I could say today the leader is Qualcomm Snapdragon architecture in the mobile segment. Down 4 years, TI is the world's leader. They are changing their way. We are just following. So, believe it, we introduce the SoCs with Qualcomm, with the TI, then TI stop, Qualcomm. So, we don't know. It's very challenging. Every time we need to learn with the at par with just okay. Then only we could compete with the academics in the class. So these are some of the processors being used in these SoCs. So in terms of processors, we distinguish the architectures. So basically, this is ARM or low power processors that are being used, but desktops, there's high speed, high power, basically the Intel Pentium or I series or AMD. These are the class of processors being used in the devices. Next slide, please. Any queries here? Fine. Okay. So the other important aspect, so basically we have seen three components. The peripheral side, the touch is different, the tool is different, and some of the IOs are different in those architectures. And then we talked about the memories, the differences. When we talked about the processors differences, then within the SoCs are different. And similarities, of course, we have. Then looking for the other direction is the architecture of the software architecture. Today we have a tools to integrate mobile applications to the desktop to the server. Believe me, in 2009 when I was doing the first course on mobile application development, training program, mobile means mobile only, run only for mobile. Have separate dedicated tools, separate platform, and separate environment. So if I want to develop an application for mobile, the same application for desktop, the same application for server, I need to do it, repeat it in three distinct environments. But today, there is a tool that integrates it, develop it at one platform, and you can compile it for three different platforms, three different applications. For the same works on server, the same works on desktop, the same works on the mobile. This is possible today, but it is not true down 5 years back. Now see my definitions are changing. Maybe if I am talking about this after 5 years, may possible the essence. There is no computer architecture separately to be taught, rather you talk with the architectures of other Windows. I think this will be the better one. The architectures of computers, because this is what embedded systems to be, mobile systems to be, desktop systems, palm browser, or any other thing. I think that will be the better course. Oh. So then they operate. This is possible because the operating systems. I'm using the same operating system for mobile. Maybe, for example, take the Android. I can run Android in the desktop. I can use this desktop as an Android PC. We have done it. We took our source code, compile it for this desktop, where i7 is running or i5. Then we compile the execution time and compile time to the Atom processor we did it and loaded it perfectly running it. But we could not do it in Pi 2 because there is some issue still we are working out. So when I done in the class platform, then the tools are saved, so I could run my application on any of these three platforms. So this is possible when you have the same OS platform for mobile, for desktops, for server. So Linux can be one of these that supports three, which is possible. Otherwise, Windows could be this. You have Windows server, you have Windows desktop, and you have Windows phone. In such cases, also seamless integration is possible. But I have a iOS, I have a Windows, I have a Linux, their integration is not possible. So the tools and the SDKs will support you. The base architectures of the OS is same. So today, if I use the tools for Windows Phone development, I could do it for the same for mobile, desktop, and server. Similarly, if I use the iOS tool, it supports for desktop and supports for the mobile also. But the class is not supported. So there is the architectural change. Okay. Then when you change the OS, you need to change the programming environment. So please go for the next slide. This is a booting time. I think we have covered this booting process in the previous discussion. Whenever you switch on a mobile device, the booting process is almost same as your mobile as a desktop, but only the difference is that the bootloader is loaded in the flash memory or the ROM memory, whichever, and even some portion of the OS is loaded in the NOR flash, so that it cuts down the booting time, and then the OS, the file systems, and certain applications which are loaded in the your disk or your NAND flash will be mounted in the next phase, and then finally the applications of your users and the control transfer to that, so that you get a UI at the end of the process for and the system applications which you have already installed, or you install some applications and run it. Most of the cases, the booting process is almost same, but due to the architectural changes, the time is different. And because of the memories that do this, because the processors that do it. Okay. Very important thing. thought if you really asked me 2 years down. But today, I feel this to teach or not to teach is ambiguous. Reason being is, in embedded world, till today, one of the difference trying to explain, uh, I'm trying to explain to you one of the difference in terms of functionality, for example. In embedded world, somebody will classify the embedded systems and with the normal. This is one of the difference this data. This is the development workstation. Development workstation. We call this is a host environment. All your desktops could be host, where you really develop an embedded application or even mobile application. Once you developed and tested everything simulated, and you want to really test that in a real hardware, the real hardware environment we call as a target. In this case is a mobile device. Now, the host application, the application which you developed on the host has to be installed on the target. You need some means. There we call as an embedded Go programmers, Bash programmers, so on and so forth. Okay, or IC circuit simulators, so on. Today, because of the flash mode is available, the seamless program it, take your source file, take your application input, and target load it onto the device. So in embedded world, your development workstation is altogether is different, and target is altogether is different. Okay. Now, this is true few years down in mobile segment also. But today, it may not be true. For example, you take the Raspberry Pi, which you are going to see yourself. It is going to act as a Linux PC. I'll show you tomorrow. Okay. There itself, you develop your application. I do not need two different systems. I can develop my mobile application, write it, and interface it, and host and target both are becoming the same. Now, you can use it Raspberry Pi as a embedded system. I can use it as a desktop, or you can use it as a server. Now, how am I going to say? Hardware is same, sir. The OS is same, but you are going to say that it's my embedded system. I'm going to say this is my mobile, and he is going to say server. What makes the difference? There is a difference. In case of embedded system, principle, when you switch on the power, application will call the OS. Understand? Application is a superpower. Application will call the sum of the OS routines. You don't load every OS. Entire OS doesn't exist in the embedded system. Only a component, few lines of the code which I require might be there along with my application. So I must say my OS is there, but only 1% or 2% which is required. For example, I need to use the TCP/IP protocol. I only call that a stack. Rest of the things I don't need it in my embedded product. I still say that there is a OS because of the code that I used it. So first, my application calls the OS in embedded system, though my hardware is Raspberry Pi, though I am using the Linux. So I am still using an embedded applications Linux, but there the quantum, how am I using is different. Now coming to the mobile. In mobile, I am using the way I am using the desktop, but I need to customize it for some communication protocols, GSM. I need to install separate packages. For GPS, I need to install certain packages, which is not required for the desktop. So same OS I'm using for embedded, I'm using for mobile, I'm using for the desktop. How am I using? In the case of embedded system, I take up only certain routines which I require and bind it with my application and produce the product. That is not going to change, that's not going to modify in general. In embedded, I take the OS, remove certain components, drivers, add certain components and drivers required for my mobile, and I build it and use it. Then Similarly for the desktop. Now tell me, I have a Linux in so many embedded systems. All Android or mobile devices you have, but all Linux desktops you have. Where is the change? The way I am using it. There, my application is controlling the OS. Just OS is serving certain functionality. Otherwise, you can write your own code. But because of time to market, critical testing required again to use OS in embedded systems. In case of mobile, again the same analogy. I want to bring more changes, services as fast as possible. So I let us develop the certain routines and use that. Because of the mobile, you need to have more towards communication and entertainment and sensing. So you provide those components in this. Whereas in the desktop, I don't need to do much sensing. Sensors one may not exist, and the communication much did not exist. So I'll accordingly make my OS. But I have the same Linux platform or same Android platform. It could be working on my TV, Android. It could be working on my mobile Android. Even it could work Android PC as well. Server. Server doesn't mean that it's so much big. Server can be a simple mail services I'm providing, or I want to provide any small service. Maybe small piece of code can be a server. So it is making the request that could even be done by an 8-bit computer. Doesn't mean by uncomplicated complex servers that storage servers are this. Okay. So in all such applications, even embedded systems, some of them can act as servers to the other clients. Need not be the storage servers which you think of Google and Yahoo and Reddit so on. Okay. So in mobile segment at present, I do not have. You can say at present in your case, this post and this target is not different, same. But if I do it a mobile programming for Windows, this may be different. And in current course, this and this is meaning the Raspberry Pi itself, configure, customize, you develop application, you also run in the same. Okay? Yes. There is the answer for somebody. What are the differences between computer architecture versus mobile architecture? So in summary, the processors, if you look, Intel AM is basically 64-bit. I'm sure recently some 64-bit processors also came. This slide where 2013 or 14 I just building, but I just added those. Current some of the processors do have 64-bit, but you mentioned that here is only ARM and Intel. It is low power, it is basically high speed and high power. IC is and there is no ARM processor being used. In general, if you want, you can, but normally not meant for the desktop processors. No disk memory, this memory is mandatory general purpose, but migrating towards to be a general purpose. OS, yes, there is a specific OS. You can use the desktop OS to certain extent to a mobile OS. Reverse may not be true because of the OS that has to be supported. I said that the disk space and the drivers, all those things. Okay, so there is huge difference in terms of OS, driver programming, and those things. Then the protocols, as I mentioned, that some of the communication protocols as a desktop OS has to support, but not all. But in the case of mobile devices, it has so many wireless or wired protocols that is supported. For example, GSM is a mandate. Do you have a GSM in your mobile, in your desktops? So you need to install or hardware you need to have extra. Why? Desktops are not meant for that. This is one of the changes we need to bring. Okay. Similarly, you can think of some other 3G or 4G, any communication protocol. All of them is supported in the mobile, but none of them is supported in the ask me, I want to use Linux, but if you install a external hardware, it works because the OS support. But Windows Phone won't work on the Windows Mobile. Sorry, Windows Phone doesn't work on the desktop, but desktop might work in that. So please see this. Then the tools. Generally, all right. Generally, the same SDK today we could able to build it, but otherwise normally the SDK is the programming tools for desktop application development. Then the mobile application development they are slightly different. Okay, so you need to use different tools installations for mobile applications and the desktop applications. That is to certain extent, and booting time is more and less, and power consumption, and there are the differences at one side. But looking into the similarities, n number of similarities. Processors you can have both, memories you can, IOs you have, but of course some difference in terms of physical size, power consumptions, and the environment, the applications, the functionality. These are all good. Tell us now, to address these differences or not.
I have a very basic
Yeah, no
question.
problem. Please
The
go ahead.
booting time, doesn't it depend more on configuration? My laptop has very less booting time as compared to my phone.
You are very right. In spite of anything that you configure it, but what I'm trying to say, it also depends on some of the memory, some processor speed. You generally talk about in the standard mobile, in the standard desktop. Change your processor speed and changes, then definitely the time differs. Yes, you're right. But taking it the same level, the difference.
So, in my
Yeah,
case,
you are
it's
very right.
opposite.
Within the desktops, you will find variations, or even you time to time you can change it due to the other OS functionalities. Really, differences you will see. Any doubts here, please, sir?
Why this is there?
I have really time to answer you. Is it a mobile operating system is real time or a non-real time? As far as books considered, literature considered, every mobile OS vendor say claims that every mobile operating system vendor claims, including Windows Phone to Symbian, they are real time. Please note, real time doesn't mean immediate. Real time mean it response time. If I want to go to Delhi to take my class on Tuesday, Wednesday, doesn't mean I need to go by air, but I need to meet my constraint is just even I can go by walk in 2 days time and reach. Time a real time. People misunderstood. Real time means it's fast. There should not be any delay. There can be a delay, but you need to meet the deadlines. So the deadline can be a day, the deadline can be a month, the deadline can be a year. Or real time. Please let me finish, sir. 1 minute, I'll come to you. Now, in case of soft real time, deadlines is good. Don't meet, still it is fine. I give an example. In a hard deadline, if you don't meet, it is a disaster to you. It's rather you are not meeting, it's better don't do, stop the work. You started the work and not meeting the deadlines, it's really disaster. Now think of real-time OS, hard real-time OS and soft real-time OS or mobile OS or desktop OS is just a piece of how one software guarantees and how other software doesn't guarantee. There are both of piece of software only. Guarantee of hard real time or soft real time lies not only in the OS and OS architecture, but also their prerequisites. No real-time OS says that my response time is this, but comma, this much processor, with this much memory, with this much bandwidth, I am able to meet. So I say also, in any given situation, my road is good and there is no traffic, I am going to reach to Kashmiri Gate to Dwarka. If any of these fails, I am not going to meet. But who is going to guarantee these things? There, the architecture, you provide the process, you provide the memory, and you provide the processing speed. So they are going to guarantee the deadlines. Here in the software time, it is good. Let's say I want to make 100 fans to be produced by a robot for an hour time assembly. Let's say if I don't do it, 100 fans production is stopped. Hard. Assume that if it is a software time, it started, but it's 95 came out of the assembly line, but 5 fans came out without assembly. This is okay, we accept. But if you say don't do it, if you are not going to meet, then 95 fans even won't come in the production line. But if you take the hard real time, let's say my chemical plant is there, if I don't produce everything inside, or take an example, I want to hit the moving object in the space by a missile. I tried it. If you miss the target, in the failure of the deadlines, then you may be hitting your own vehicle other side. But don't fire. Rather firing, not meeting the deadlines and hitting your own vehicle. Yes, this is deadlines, real time and non-real time is not given by a computer, rather given by a application. Yes. And any OS to certain extent is a real time. Okay? Hard real time and soft real time is like how many times you use the deadlines is 100% guarantees, you try to guarantee but fail it. So you require hard real time, you also require soft real time, you also require no real time OS. Maybe just after. Tell me now your queries.
All operating systems are real.
I'm not saying all are real times. They try to make the real time. Some guarantees, which is hard real times. Some try to reduce. Still, you accept. It data. Okay. And you also require certain desktop operating systems. You don't need to guarantee. If you try to use the real-time OS in the desktop, if you won't call it desktop, it does never satisfy the requirements. So,
Operating system.
pardon me, sir?
The AX was operating system.
Yes.
The real-time Linux is guaranteed.
Yes. But they guarantee with the free of the bandwidth and the processor and the memory. Never guarantee just like this. I said a very clear example, but you also have a mechanism, real time, predictability, queuing, process communication, interrupt handling. These are the certain concepts which has to be incorporated to be a real time in the OS as well. If I do not do the priority based scheduling, then I am not going to meet my real time constraints at all. So there is a principal requisitions required in the OS as well. Apart from that, let's say I have all the requisites from the OS side which is required for a real time. Even that can be possible in the desktop, but still desktop never be a real time. Because it is not going to say this work is going to complete with this stipulated time because of the application it is there.
We cannot generalize that it is an art.
Now I say why it is not your voice. You are right, sir. I'm saying that certain tasks of this is a real time, but not all the tasks. For example, you see all agent mobile. Have you ever you are dialing the agent number? For example, if you are typing an SMS, got a call. One you will be listening to music, you got a call, what happens? Yes, it takes place. Will you stop it? Will you stop it? Tell me. Will you stop it in the OS that concept? Let me ask this. In that case, it's not because it's multifunctional. Real time means it's just doing all stuff, go to any general stuff like your PC. So that's why I'm also saying the application there is a desktop application, but there is a real-time application. If that is not supported, then my voice is not qualified for real-time. They claim every mobile operating system vendor claim it they are real-time, and they also claim it is hard real-time. Reason being is only the reason being they are doing with multiple functionalities. So very true that I'm doing my printing some other task and not with that specific task. Has to be real time, they are real. But other tasks, because the mobile is working as a PC, mobile is also working as a real-time device. So as far as the real-time device goes, it is to real time. It's quite difficult in general way to say you're right. But when you say why can't it be called as a real time? Answer, you have any answer with that example?
Okay, sir. I think we'll do one thing. Yeah,
Just
just
one fun
yeah.
Sir, actually, the real-time operating system is generally assessing signal processing. But here there is no signal processing here.
Who said real time to be signal processing?
Okay, we'll have a discussion. I know that you have many queries. That's good. This is the
I
whole purpose of the
understand.
course.
Very good. This is I appreciate your concerns, but if you go into level, there is this is hybrid systems. Mobile is neither the generated very beginning. It's some combination of embedded and desktop.
We'll
And
have
it's a
a tea
library.
break, right? Okay, you have many questions, I know. Right. First
Next
day,
slide.
yes,
Is there
right.
any more slides?
Sir.
Right. Then question answers. There will be question answers. We'll do
Yeah.
it next exercise. So otherwise, I'll leave it this. Name the hardware and software components of your own mobile device. Draw the mobile architecture. Differentiate my smartphone versus the smartphone because we introduce you certain components of my smartphone. Then demo of the components. I'll try to do it. I have given you the components demo in the morning itself. So I think question answer session has been done. Now after this session, what we will be going to have, we're going to have certain environment which needs to be done for tomorrow's class. So how many pieces have a Linux installation in your? How many people have a Linux desktops? Sorry, how many people have laptops with Linux installation? Okay, so please bring in your environment here and there. We try to do it, and otherwise we try to demonstrate um, some of the concepts of my smartphone. And please bring tomorrow. We would like to have installation of Linux on your desktops. So either it may be desktops or your laptops. So it is required. I mentioned in the required from you. Please bring your laptop. If you not have in the desktop, you try to install. Huh? Any Linux installation is fine. But try to install in the same so that the errors could be handled properly. Okay. So any more things you please discuss in the offline. Thank you very much. Thank you.
You will be there tomorrow also, here only, right? So tomorrow session, you can ask questions of this tomorrow also if you have any still doubt, right? Okay. I know that I can see that some of you are feeling tired. Huh?
This class might be attended to the very might be continued.
No. Yeah. Yes. Lab is open 24 hours. मैंने security guard को बोल दिया. Some of the participants are excited. So lab is could be open 24 hours.
So please, if you have Linux installation must be required. Please make it. Next class onwards, Linux installation. We show you tomorrow before the lunch the working kits with you. Okay, and if you have a Linux installation and along with us, if you continue, I'm sure that this is very simple to make you learn, and also you make others to learn. I'm sure it's so simple. We keep things in
get loaded with Linux.
We have a people here.
No,
Yeah.
get loaded. Otherwise, that lab seems to be updated with Linux, right? Most probably. Maybe then we'll start the class. Right? Participants are
So let their systems install. Now,
How many of you have brought the laptops? Oh, many of them are there already, right? Only few do not have.
you can
So
bring
if you bring
tomorrow
your own
also.
laptop, it will be better, so that the code also goes with you only, right? Whatever you develop it, whatever you have done, so it will be carried with you only. That will be best. Because I don't want any of your code here, right? If you can carry it, it will be best.
But still we can use it, right? So-
Yes, yes, definitely, definitely. Those who do not have, you can configure it and then you can use it.
Okay, we'll make.
So tea break है generally Reddy साहब को भी थोड़ा टाइम टेबल strictly उन्होंने रख दिया. हमें मालूम है आप सब लोग टीचर्स हैं. I always quote आप सब I always quote it that once you have worked for 5 years, that means you loses your engineering capacity. Right? I could see from some of your faces that आप लोग सब पढ़ चुके थे, right? Don't be very serious. इसलिए है because you have to make the thing functional with all the interfaces. Right? Thursday afternoon, the lunch time. So Thursday afternoon के बाद your project will start, which you will demonstrate on Friday. Our directors have also told you to be there. Some of you will be called to demonstrate what all you have done.
The project is started. Their ideas you can think of. The project is started. Now you can express with time to time, like we did one course. You try to model your work into that way. This is how we do it.
Those who have come with the intention to relax here, so forget about it. शायद नींद सारा खराब हो जाएगा, right? Okay. Then you will say on Friday that sir we have learned so many things. It was what forgetting to sleep. We'll go for tea break. Usually सर क्या होते हैं? 9:30 to 11 is the class time, and 11 to 11:30 is the tea break, right? So somebody become the monitor, right? The teacher को थोड़ा सा बता देना सर.
So tomorrow we'll meet at morning again 9:30. Rather today we inauguration.
9:30 to 11. Then 11 to 11:30 is tea break. 11:30 to 1. Then 1 to 2 is the lunch break. Then 2 to 3:30. And 3:30 to 4 is tea. And 4 to 5. So those who are interested to see Chandigarh, right? You have enough time after 5 o'clock. जब summer है, so day is longer, right? So 5 o'clock से लेकर 10 बजे तक safe है चंडीगढ़ में, कोई दिक्कत नहीं, right? आप जहाँ भी जाइए, only you take care of yourselves, okay? Come back to the hostel. Okay?
to explain something. Why I need this Linux on a machine? Because everyone know about the Raspberry Pi, okay? And the Raspberry Pi is stored on a card, memory card. How many persons are work on a Raspberry Pi? You have to work now. Have you seen ever a Raspberry memory card on a system? Like you have put the memory card on your machine, and what you have to come around your face on a machine. Like जब आप memory card लगाते हो, तब आपको memory card में क्या क्या दिखता है? Like जब आपने अपने Windows की machine पर उसका memory card आपने place किया, तो only show the one partition. It show only one partition. That is called the boot partition. Because a Raspberry Pi don't have a BIOS. Okay, so it needs a bootloader. So memory card divided into two partitions. One is the boot and another one is the file system. Okay, boot section contain only a basic bootloader files like boot code, start as, kernel, and the configuration file which load your OS onto the RAM of a Raspberry Pi. Okay, and the file system is attached after init command is called during the boot. Okay, so we need a Linux for the kernel compilation. Okay, because your Windows machine doesn't know about the exe partition. Okay, Windows only understand the FAT and LTFS, and your Raspberry Pi memory card having a file system of exe code, and exe code doesn't understand by Windows. So you can't see about the file system on your desktop on your machine. That's why we need a Linux machine to see how the partition is allocated to the memory card and how we put the modules and the kernel into the memory card. Okay, that's why we need this. So first of all, you have to create a 50 GB partitioning on your hard disk. First of all, like all of you having a Windows machine, so create a 50 GB of blank partition on your machine. Okay. मुझे बताने की जरूरत है कैसे करना है वो सब तो हो जाएगा ठीक है okay so I give the ISO file to everyone to install your Linux machine Linux on your machine so I need a pen drive to make the pen drive bootable for the Linux machine so everyone having a pen drive okay so take the ISO from me understand sir मैं एक आईएसओ दूंगा लाइनक्स का आईएसओ ठीक है उससे हम पेन ड्राइव बुटेबल बनाएंगे उसके बाद में इंस्टॉल करेंगे ठीक है तो आप मुझे 50 जीबी का पार्टीशन चाहिए बिकॉज़ ऑफ योर मशीन कन्वर्टिंग इनटू मल्टी पार्ट मल्टीपल ओएस okay so I need a 50 I need a pen drive to install an OS on your machine because we make a pen drive bootable to install a Linux on your machine तो और इश्यूज उनके साथ होगा जिसका जेन्युइन पार्टीशनिंग है मींस दैट जिसके पास जेन्युइन विंडोज है उसके साथ एक इशू है इशू ये है कि उनका जेन्युइन विंडोज कभी भी लिनक्स को इंस्टॉल करने नहीं देता बिकॉज़ ऑफ दे आर यूजिंग अ यूनिफाइड पार्टीशनिंग ओके इट्स मीनिंग अ यूनिफाइड एक्सटेंडेड फर्मवेयर इंटरफेस so first of all you go to the BIOS and off the secure boot okay first on your laptop go to the BIOS and switch off the secure boot okay secure boot बस तो करा देता हूं कहां आएगा आप पेन ड्राइव देंगे आप इसका पासवर्ड बताएं आप पासवर्ड पेन ड्राइव मैं
पहले फॉर्मेट कर लीजिएगा
ये वाली थोड़ी है
नहीं वायरस तो मैं फॉर्मेट करके दे दूंगा
तो हाँ हाँ हो जाएगा। हाँ 4G भी सर। हाँ ऑन द विंडो मशीन मैं इस टूल का यूज करूंगा और मेकिंग द पेन ड्राइव बूटेबल। ओके, सो आप लोग मुझे पेन ड्राइव देंगे, उसमें एक टूल और एक आईएसओ फाइल, वो दोनों दूंगा, आपको बस उसे राइट करना है पेन ड्राइव के ऊपर, कॉपी कर लेना अपनी हार्ड डिस्क पे, देन उसे राइट करना अपनी पेन ड्राइव पे। जस्ट इतना से करना है, स्टेप्स मैं बता दूंगा राइट कैसे करना है, ठीक है। तो मैं आपकी मशीन 64 है, इस पे बूटेबल है ऑलरेडी।
फाइल सिस्टम में
हाँ बायोस में नहीं कोई बात आपके पास जेन्युइन है, आपके तो जेन्युइन है, जेन्युइन है कि नहीं, जेन्युइन नहीं है ना। प्रॉब्लम जेन्युइन ही था, स्टेप पर बता रहे हैं। क्या चीज सर, आपको कॉपी नहीं करना, आपको बूट करना है, तो वो बूटेबल है ऑलरेडी। जब आप सिस्टम बूट करेंगे तो बूट विद द पेन ड्राइव ऑप्शन कर रहा है। हाँ का फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल आप बूट ऑप्शन चेक करिए, उसका कैसे आएगा, बिकॉज हर एक सिस्टम का बूट ऑप्शन अलग अलग की से आता है। लाइक डेल में F9 होता है बूट ऑप्शन के लिए, HP में F12 होता है, ठीक है, सोनी में इधर आपको ऑफ करके शायद हाँ रेस्क्यू डिस्क पे आएगा ऑप्शन। तो हर एक का बूट ऑप्शन अलग अलग आएगा। जब आप पेन ड्राइव बूटेबल बना लेंगे उसके बाद करेंगे बूट विद द पेन ड्राइव। ओके, नेक्स्ट स्टेप होगा बूट विद द पेन ड्राइव, फिर आपका जो सिस्टम है वो पेन ड्राइव से चलेगा। ओके, आफ्टर बूटिंग विद द पेन ड्राइव you are getting the screen of the Linux. Of the Linux, there is on a desktop there is the icon of startup installer. Startup installer. मैं स्टेप्स दिखा दूंगा आपको किसी एक पे करके, आपका हो गया। मैं दिखा देता हूँ। मुझे वर्जन से कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, बिकॉज ऑफ हम जब कंपाइलेशन करेंगे हमारे पास खुद का एक टूल होगा। ओके, हमारे पास खुद का एक सोर्स कोड होगा, ठीक है। बिकॉज ऑफ कंपाइलेशन के हेल्प, बिकॉज आई नीड अ जीसीसी ऑन इट, ठीक है। तो जीसीसी का टूल चेन मैंने खुद डिफाइन करना है, सोर्स कोड को डिफाइन करना है। विंडोज पे भी आप कंपाइलेशन कर सकते हैं, आपने भेज दिया, ठीक है। मुझे उससे मतलब प्रॉब्लम नहीं है कि कोई भी वर्जन आइदर उबंटू हो या फिर रेड हैट है, फेडोरा, से कोई मैटर नहीं करता, बट इट्स अ लाइनक्स मशीन। ओके, विद अ ड्यूल मशीन, ड्यूल बोर्ड, वर्चुअल बॉक्स पे नहीं होगा, आपका सिस्टम हैंग हो सकता है बिकॉज ऑफ ड्यूरिंग कंपाइलेशन इट टेक अ लॉन्ग टाइम, इट यूजिंग ऑल द कोर ऑफ योर सिस्टम. ओके, इट वर्किंग लाइक मीन दैट आपका जो सिस्टम है ना वो पूरी तरह यूज होगा, उसमें 100% यूटिलाइज पे होगा. आप चाहो तो ग्राफिकल देख सकते हो, आपका प्रोसेसर पूरी तरह वर्क कर रहा होगा 100%. कोई भी प्रोसेस आइडल नहीं होगी, बैक एंड पर कुछ भी नहीं चलेगा, सिर्फ वो कंपाइलेशन चलेगी तो वो होगा. तो इसलिए अगर आप वर्चुअल बॉक्स पे करोगे तो इट मे बी हैंग. वो इसलिए नहीं कर रही है. पार्टीशन दिया हुआ है वो अपने पार्टीशन से ज्यादा
कौन सी मिलता है?
नहीं यार, उबंटू का है, उबंटू जीनो फेडोरा नहीं है. वो डेस्कटॉप वेरिएंट अपीयरेंस जो फेडोरा जैसा लगेगा बट इंस्टॉल प्लीज. आप एक स्टेप पे रुक जाइएगा, मैं बताऊंगा तब आप करिएगा. आगे चलते जाइए, फर्दर प्रोसीड कर दीजिए. है स्वैप बनाना है आपको, अराउंड 1 GB का स्वैप पार्टीशन देंगे उसमें, ठीक है. एंड रेस्ट ऑफ फॉर द लिनक्स के लिए कोई आप होम फोल्डर कुछ ना देंगे, सिर्फ उसे रूट पर एलोकेट करेंगे बस. ये करके दिखाता हूँ ना, क्योंकि प्रैक्टिकली
इनके में होगा ना?
इसके में नहीं.
HDMI है नहीं आपको?
बस नहीं.
दूसरे लैपटॉप में कर दीजिए, इसमें
पार्टीशन है,
फिर मैंने कर लिया पार्टीशन.
ये लग जाएगी मुझे दिखाना है.
अरे यहाँ पे बैठ के दिखा दीजिए, बस सामने प्रोजेक्ट हो जाएगा ना.
प्रोजेक्ट सामने जाएगा भी नहीं है मुझे. बिल्कुल आइडिया
एक मिनट.
ठीक है सर. इधर bootable निकालो ना। bootable निकालो। सर बाद में तो हमने अपने दूसरे काम कर लिया। चार्जेस में काम कर रहा बाद में ये बोल रही हूँ आप लोग क्या करोगे आप सिस्टम में आके देखना मिल गया कौन से ऑप्शन बोला था रिसीव करते हो आपके पास पड़ेगा यहाँ पे आगे नहीं करते इधर आ जाओ वहाँ पे आएगा मुझे भी चाहिए वहाँ पे नहीं यहाँ पे इधर देखो पेंडेंट ब्यूटी बना लेंगे बता दो मैं बना देती हूँ हाँ इसमें भी देती है सर मुझे बता दो मैं इसकी पेंडेंट ब्यूटी बना दूँ किसी में नहीं होगा ये
नहीं सर अभी कर
ये गले मेरे ब्यूटीबल नहीं हुई
नहीं है सर आपके सामने ये कॉपी कर दीजिए
सर आप है ना मुझे आगे तो वो यूपी इसके लिए मैं दे दूं मैं अपने पीसी पे बना लूंगा।
हाँ सर वो कर
आप
इसमें करना है दोनों में करनी है
एक
सर आपकी मशीन जेन्युइन तो नहीं है ना विंडोज ठीक मनोज नाम आपने अलॉन्ग विद इससे प्रॉब्लम नहीं आई प्रॉब्लम तो अब आएगी जब आप उसे अनइंस्टॉल करोगे अनइंस्टॉल करोगे तब प्रॉब्लम आएगी आपको अभी तो प्रॉब्लम नहीं आएगी ठीक है अच्छी बात है आपका जेन्युइन था कौन सी डेट का नहीं जो लैपटॉप्स अभी आए थे लाइक 64 बिट जितने भी आए थे उन्होंने सिक्योरिटी पर्पज के लिए उसके अंदर एक पार्टीशन एक यूएफआई मोड में इंस्टॉलेशन करी है होता है यूनिफाइड एक्सटेंडेड फर्मवेयर मोड इस केस में क्या होता है कि कंपनीज अपने ओएस को सिक्योर करती है ताकि कोई और ओएस उसके ऊपर इंस्टॉल ना हो सके रीजन फॉर द बिजनेस पर्पज ओनली और किस नहीं फॉर द डेवलपर इट्स यूजलेस फॉर द डेवलपर इट्स यूजलेस तो आपको बस उसमें करना क्या है अगर आपको जेन्युइन विंडो रखनी है अपने पास क्योंकि आपने पैसे दिए उसके लिए तो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल आपको उसका सिक्योर बूट ऑफ करिए बायोस में जाके उसके बाद आपको 64 बिट का ही ओएस यूज करेंगे आप लिनक्स का 64 बिट का वर्जन लीजिए उसको पेनड्राइव से बूटेबल बनाइए उसके बाद बूट विद द पेनड्राइव करेंगे तो कोई इशू नहीं है ठीक है बट ड्यूरिंग इंस्टॉलेशन लोग समटाइम कभी गलती करते हैं उसमें एक ऑप्शन आता है समथिंग एल्स का जब आप इंस्टॉलेशन करते हो वो पूछता है अलॉन्ग विद विंडोज और या समथिंग एल्स तो फॉलो द समथिंग एल्स तो आपके पास दो ऑप्शन होते हैं आपका ओएस भी सिक्योर हो जाता है और आपका मल्टी बूट सिस्टम भी हो जाता है उससे ये होगा कि नियर फ्यूचर में कभी भी आपका जैसे एक ओएस खराब हो गया, सेकंड ओएस फिर भी चलता रहेगा। क्या आपके वाले आपने शायद समथिंग एल्स चूज नहीं किया होगा, आपके पास अलॉन्ग विद, और ये आपको प्रॉब्लम क्रिएट करेगा तब जब आप उसे लाइक आपका विंडोज अपग्रेडेशन होगा, उस केस में आपका वो ओएस हट जाएगा। तो मैं प्रोसेस बता रहा हूँ, उसमें ना ही अपग्रेडेशन में कोई प्रॉब्लम आएगी, ना ही आपकी हार्ड डिस्क कभी क्रैश होगी, और इवन आपको फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी रहेगी ऑलवेज। नहीं ये वाली किसकी है? ये वाली आपका ओएस सिस्टम 64 बिट का है, जेन्युइन है। ठीक है तो कोई दिक्कत नहीं, प्रॉब्लम जेन्युइन के साथ बोला है। सबके पेंडेंट को ब्लैंक है ना?
हाँ।
देख लो।
और क्या किया मैंने भी।
बोले अब किया
हाँ।
सर ये आपकी मशीन अब मैं एक भी करूँगा। हाँ मुझे भी सही है। ये बोलिए। बस एक स्टेप पे ध्यान रखना जो बताऊँ। आपकी ये कॉपी कर लीजिए, क्लिक करिएगा, ये बता रहा हूँ एक पे थोड़ा सा बता रहा हूँ। और मैं डेटा डाल सकता हूँ बट वो पेंड्राइव बूटेबल नहीं है। ये किसकी है? आपकी? आपको जेन्युइन चाहिए? हाँ जेन्युइन।
आपके पास
ये आई आप कोई भी वाले कर सकते हो बट ऑप्शन आपके इस पर डिपेंड करता है। नहीं आपकी जो मशीन है, आपकी मशीन अगर लेटेस्ट है तो 32 बिट ऑलरेडी है, फिर सपोर्ट करवा दो। तो ब्रांड में जितने भी थे उन सब में 32 अगर आपको मल्टीपुल बनाना है उसके लिए बस एक पे मत बनाओ, नहीं आप अलॉन्ग साइड
आपने वही मुझे लग रहा है इंस्टॉलेशन हाफ एन आवर तो लगेगा।
आपको सर क्या चाहिए?
तो पेन ड्राइव नहीं, पेन ड्राइव दो। मैं आपको एक्स्ट्रा पेन ड्राइव
नहीं वो इन केस अगर आपका सिस्टम अपग्रेडेशन में जा रहा है तो वो उसको क्योंकि जब बायोस उसका रीबूट होता है उस केस में वो उसका लिंक हटा देता है। मतलब आपका जो सिस्टम अपडेशन है वो प्रॉब्लम क्रिएट कर सकता है आपके लिए करेगा क्योंकि वो अलोंगसाइड है कि उसको बूट ऑप्शन आ जाए। हाँ जब तक उसका बायोस अपडेट नहीं होता क्योंकि जब सिस्टम वो वाला होगा अपग्रेडेशन मोड में जाता है तो कई समटाइम बायोस भी अपडेट कर देता है। बायोस अपडेट हो गया तो वो लिंक खोल देगा हटा देगा फॉर्मेट भी कर देगा। आप डेटा सिक्योर नहीं कर पाओगे अपना बस ये लाइक आपने लाइफ पे कुछ काम किया है इवन कुछ प्रॉब्लम होता है तो दोनों एक साथ है। अब आप देख लीजिए आपके लिए वो बेटर है कि एक बचा रहे वो बेटर दोनों जाएगा। तो चल तो सकता ही है मैंने मना नहीं किया बट फिर आपकी आई थिंक विंडोज स्लो हो जाएगी। जब मैं कंपाइलेशन करवाऊंगा तो उसमें आई थिंक भी बहुत ज़्यादा इंस्टॉल करिए मल्टीपुट करिए दो अलग अलग विंडोज चलाइए।
कोई पेन ड्राइव है आपके पास?
बट ये डिटेक्ट नहीं होती है।
तो मैं देखूं डिटेक्ट हो गई।
हाँ आपकी मशीन तो हो जाएगी मेरे को नहीं होती। मैं घिस चुका है काफी ज़्यादा।
मुझे क्या होगा ना इसमें कर डाल जी पे ऑलरेडी डाल दिया।
पता नहीं इसमें से जी किसको मिला है के का पता है के ही है।
हाँ के ही है ना बाकी तो हो गया। जी किसने डाला?
तो प्रॉब्लम तो मेरी सिस्टम जैसे
अच्छा वो डिटेक्ट कैसे होगा?
एक काम करो
सर
इसकी
आप
पेन ड्राइव से कॉपी कर लो
हाँ
ठीक है मैं ऐसे हो गया एक क्यूब रहेगा।
आप टेबल भी कैसे बनाओगे?
वही बताऊंगा इस तरह से समझे ताकि सारे लोग कर सकें।
सब डेस्कटॉप पे रख दो
राजपुर कॉपी कर सिस्टम पे से कॉपी कर दो इसमें से डेटा अपने सिस्टम पे कॉपी कर दो।
डेस्कटॉप पे फोल्डर बना के कॉपी कर दूं?
ये किसका है आपके
सही इसका है
नहीं डालना किसमें
इसमें
नहीं डाल दिया
64
हाँ वो तो तुम्हें 64 दिया है
नहीं मेरा 64 है।
इसमें 64 32 है और ये
आपको आप क्या
नहीं
फॉर्मेट कर दो
इसमें डाला हुआ
इसमें डाल
है
आपने डाल दिया
32 था आपकी मशीन 32 इसमें 32 कॉपी कर लेते ये आप हम कॉपी कर लेते
सर इसमें सही फॉर्मेट कर दो इसमें 64 डाल दिया। हाँ यूनिवर्सल
तो सही इजी है उसमें कोई दिक्कत नहीं है स्टेप सेम है बट बायोस में चलिए इस वाले में बायोस में चलिए
फाइल से मैं जॉब
नहीं फाइल डिफरेंट
कर रही हूँ
क्या
वो तो फिर मैंने डेस्कटॉप पे
कॉपी कर
दिया
लेना
था।
पेन ड्राइव पे इम्पोर्टेबल नहीं
जो भी होगी।
हाँ 64 था ना 32 था इसके अंदर
64
हाँ बस ठीक एक ओवर बैठ रही है कॉपी को
इससे कॉपी होता है। सर तो बूटेबल बनाने के लिए तो सेव फॉर्मेट में
उसमें कर लेना टाइम लगेगा ना
इसलिए
मैं इसमें से डेटा है मैं फॉर्मेट में देता
सेटअप को कॉपी करके आपको साइड में
हूँ
ओके कंटेंट्स मैंने दिए
और ना
हाँ जी सर।
तोशिबा वाला
नहीं
ये
सर
आपका
ये
तोशिबा
शिफ्टी अभी वाली आपको 64 बिट चाहिए आपको 64 फॉर्मेट इसको
ये तो ठीक है
सेकंड नहीं है ये
कितनी
कंटेंट
साइज
में
है
लेकिन
को
इससे कुछ होगा नहीं वो सर के सिस्टम में डिटेक्ट नहीं होता उसमें सॉफ्टवेयर नहीं है तो सर ने भी दिया वो उधर पेन ड्राइव तो आप वो कॉपी करेंगे उसके बाद आप ले लेना वो लोग कॉपी कर A62 आपको 32 चाहिए 32 उनके पास है पॉज कर दो
अब ना आप एक काम करिए
प्रोजेक्ट
एक
कनेक्ट
मुझे इसमें डेटा एक फोल्डर में
डेटा फोल्डर बनाओ
नहीं इसके अंदर से ये स्मार्टफोन नाम से एक फाइल होती है वो कॉपी मत करना काफी ज्यादा साइज हो जाएगा पार्टीशन कर लिया साइज सेट कर लिया 50 GB कर लिया ना इसमें से डेटा कॉपी कर लेना फॉर्मेट में
ये पहले बुटेबल क्यों करके दिया
फॉर्मेट हो रही है पहले फॉर्मेट कर दो रेगुलेशन
क्या बोल रही दूसरे पेन ड्राइव बुटेबल
फॉर्मेट चाहिए पहले फॉर्मेट कर दो फॉर्मेट होने में टाइम लगा ये भी कर दिया पीपीटी वगैरह
दोनों में 64
इसमें तो फॉर्मेट हो रही है ना
वो भी फॉर्मेट सर
फॉर्मेट होगी आपने वो लोन डाला था
हाँ तो सर पैकेजेस वगैरह डालते हैं उसके बाद नहीं कोई पैकेज नहीं डाला सिर्फ चाहिए किसी क्योंकि सारा काम मैं अलग से दे रहा हूँ ना मुझे तो लिनक्स की हेल्प है क्योंकि मेरा टूल चेन मेरा खुद का होगा
अभी नहीं है सर
सॉफ्ट कोड मेरा है किसी चीज की जरूरत है तो इसलिए ऐसा किया है क्योंकि हर एक को अपडेट नहीं कर सकता तो इसलिए सब कुछ मेरे पास है कोई जरूरत नहीं है टूल चेन जब मैं दे रहा हूँ तो उसको कुछ नहीं चाहिए हाँ कुछ बेसिक चाहिए होगा बिल्डिंग के टाइम वैसे तो बाय डिफॉल्ट होता है बेसिक रियल केस ही है क्योंकि मैं करा चुका हूँ तो इशू नहीं आया आजकल दोनों में डालो ना तो पेन ड्राइव मत बनाना।
format but this time our classes merge with
14.01 वैसे वो भी ओल्डर ही हो गया है। काफी पुराना 4 महीने पुराना हो गया है। 0401 ऑप्शन है Reddy से सपोर्ट करना है
नहीं इसके नीचे
आपने ऑलरेडी में डिसेबल
हाँ डिसेबल है कुछ पहले इंस्टॉल किया
हो गया। अभी सबको मैंने दे दिया होगा।
64
काम करिए आप। ठीक है लिखिए टाइम लगेगा।
फॉर्मेट नहीं हो रही
आपने डिलीवरी 32 फॉर्मेट नहीं हो रही है क्या?
हाँ बहुत देर तक के बाद होता है
स्लो है। मैं कर देता हूँ।
पहले डिलीट कर दो सब कंटेंट फिर तो हो जाए
कैसे भी कर दो।
आप जिंदगी में लिखते हैं सॉफ्टवेयर
नहीं होगा तो मतलब सी में जाना ना।
हाँ होते हैं आपने पार्टीशन कैसे बनाई है राइट क्लिक करके डिस्क में जाके
सर 14.0 हाँ रुके मैं वो ना ओल्डर वाला चला गया है इंस्टॉलर जो नए वाला है उसमें ऐसा ऑप्शन नहीं आता। मैं बोला
अब ऑप्शन नहीं है
मुझे कुछ नहीं करना आपको।
आगे प्रोसेस के लिए यूज करना है तो पहले से थोड़ी सी स्पेस ज्यादा दे दें चाहिए आफ्टर पूरी प्लान चाहिए
मुझे पार्टीशन चाहिए।
हाँ पार्टीशन चाहिए ना ऐसे तो
हाँ तो ये दोनों किस तरह नहीं पेंडा दिखा तो वर्जन में कोई बात नहीं।
सर इसमें कौन सा
ये सही कर
वर्जन
हाँ अभी लाइनेक्स मशीन होती तो मुझे इसकी भी नीड होती।
वो ऑप्शन नहीं आता सर जो हमें इंस्टॉल करना है ना आगे विंडोज का ऑप्शन है प्रॉब्लम आ रही है नए वाला वर्जन है
इसलिए
क्या वो कवर का वर्जन आपको पुराना दिया था?
वो पुराना चला गया।
कौन सा नया कौन सा?
नए वाले में ये ऑप्शंस नहीं आते, उसमें डायरेक्टली आता है वो है 9.73 वर्जन वाले में ऑप्शंस नहीं आते ना वर्जन से, डायरेक्टली सिर्फ नेम आता है वर्जन आपका जो रोके हो जाए। बस सिक्योर को तो आप स्ट्रीम करिए।
तो मतलब स्वैप पे बता दीजिए आप कहाँ पे क्या करना है।
यहाँ नहीं आएगा इसलिए। दोनों कॉपी कर रहे हो क्या? अरे ऐसा भी प्रॉब्लम थी, हिंदी प्रॉब्लम है सॉल्व करनी। आप 300 जीबी ले सकते हो, ठीक है? आप अपना 100 जीबी ले लो, 80 जीबी तो वो 8 के बाद 5 लेटेस्ट है 320। हाँ 300 इसको कर 300 जीबी हो गया कॉपी?
हाँ जी सर ये फॉर्मेट हो गई
बस फॉर्मेट सिंपल आप देख लीजिए ना, मैं कर रहा हूँ। हाँ सब पूरा स्टेप बता बैठे तो आज में सब नहीं, सबको मुझे बताना है तो मुझे बोलना तो पड़ेगा ना। तेरा देखने
हम भी कर देंगे।
नहीं सामने तो दिख ही रहा है, मैं सिर्फ सिस्टम को घुमाने वाला मैं उस तरफ बैठा वैसे मैं बता सकता हूँ। तो ऑलरेडी उबंटू वाली थी, आपने चेंज किया तो ऑलरेडी उबंटू था।
मैंने पहले विंडोज
तो 32 भी डाल देते काफी इनमें तो नहीं है। अपने वो 500 और वो
आइए नेक्स्ट के
बनाया है।
मैं लिख लेती हूँ।
ओके सर प्लीज कल को मैं अपने लैपटॉप पे हेलो
लैपटॉप पे मैं कर देती
sir I tell about the
लेकिन-
how to install a Linux on a machine.
मैं list है।
Please listen. After that we can first of all you create a partition on your hard disk. So go to the my computer and right click on there. There is the option of manage. There is the option of manage. Click there. Go to the disk management and select the drive which you have to want to shrink. Okay, so this one.
सर मैंने कर रखा है वो
कौन सा?
जी
Okay, click on the drive, right click on the drive and shrink the volume. This option is shown there. Click shrink the volume and it allocate the out of 500 GB, it's partition of 300 GB. You can see that size of available shrink space, okay, and the total size of the shrink volume. The 500 GB shrink to the 315, okay. You have an option of selecting create a partition of 305 GB. Okay, you select the partition and shrink the volume. Okay, it created two partition. One is a 315 GB and another one is a 227 GB. Okay, कर दूं shrink, बाद में recover कर लें, expand कर दूं. So you have to select the only you have an option. You create the partition of minimum 80 GB. Okay, for the Linux. Okay, minimum 80 GB. सर 50 भी कर लीजिए, मतलब मैं एज अ लॉन्ग टर्म के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से बता रहा हूँ. अगर आपको सिर्फ यहीं तक करना है तो आप 10 GB भी सफिशिएंट है, मुझे कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. बट लॉन्ग टर्म अगर आप लाइनक्स पे ही काम करना चाहते हो तो कम से कम 80 GB दीजिए. ओके, मिनिमम की मैक्सिमम का पूरा 360. तो आप किसके लाइनक्स पे के लिए आपको अराउंड 4 GB की पेन ड्राइव चाहिए जिसमें सारा मटेरियल होगा, सोर्स कोड से लेकर डॉक्यूमेंटेशन तक. ठीक है, हाँ उसके अंदर इमेजेस भी होंगी, ठीक है, जो आप क्रिएट करोगे. बिकॉज आफ्टर कंपाइलेशन यू गेट द कर्नल एंड द मॉड्यूल्स. ओके, तो उसके बाद आप उसके रेसबेरी में पोर्ट करोगे और कैसे उसे फिर से IMG फाइल में कन्वर्ट करना है. लास्ट स्टेप होगा. जैसे आपने कर्नल बना लिया, ठीक है, अब आप चाहते हैं कि कर्नल को आप हमेशा यूज करो अपने फाइल में, तो ऑब्वियस है कि आपको पूरा कर्नल एज IMG फॉर्मेट में चाहिए. तो हम पूरे कार्ड को कन्वर्ट करेंगे IMG में. नेक्स्ट टाइम वो इमेज आप दोबारा से बर्न करोगे कार्ड पे तो हर बार आपका ये OS चलेगा. ठीक है, तो वो हमने मटेरियल के अंदर दो इमेजेस फाइल है, तो उनका साइज अराउंड 1.5 GB है, तो उसकी वजह से साइज टोटल 3.5 GB का है मटेरियल. हाँ, 4 GB sufficient for the course material. For the system only. For the system. ठीक है, आपको कंपाइलेशन करना है, उसके लिए मिनिमम 10 GB तो आपको चाहिए. ठीक है, अगर आपको सिर्फ यहाँ करके चले जाना उसके बाद कुछ नहीं करना तो वो तो भूल ही जाओगे आप.
लास्ट टाइम तो हो गया था, टाइम सी से निकाला था.
वो 2 केजी में होता है. अगर आपका पार्टीशन
चार हो गए, 5वां ही है. फिर सेकंड से करके वही वाला कर दीजिए. हाँ, ये जी जो है ये इसी के लिए बनाया है.
ओके,
वो फॉल्ट हो गया ना वहीं पे.
okay, next step is open the tool that can make your pen drive bootable. So this is a universal USB installer for the Windows. Okay, on Linux machine there is no need of this type of tool. There is a facility available on the Linux. You can create a pen drive bootable on the Linux machine directly by a command prompt. Okay, there is no need for the no need of extra tool there. Okay. First, select the distribution of a Linux machine. There is a lot of options are there. We are using a Ubuntu, so select the Ubuntu option. Okay, browse the location of our ISO file. Okay, then select your pen drive which you want to make a bootable pen drive. So select the option. First, format this. Okay, and give the persistent area. Okay, it gives a minimum of 1 GB. सर एक्चुअली ये पेन ड्राइव बूटेबल करने के लिए लाया, तो जब आप इसे इंस्टॉल करोगे तो बस आप चाहो तो इस पेन ड्राइव से सारे काम करेंगे। ये लाइव बूटेबल होगी, तो उसके लिए से मिनिमम स्पेस चाहिए होता है, दिस लोडिंग अपलोडिंग एंड then create it. Yes. तो आप लोग सभी अपने पेन ड्राइव लेके आएंगे, तो उसके लिए भी
मिनिमम 4 GB की ना? हार्ड डिस्क नहीं चलेगी।
फोन है, मेमोरी कार्ड है,
सर जैसे अगर ये चीज मैं किसी और के इलाके में भी करती हूँ तो वो पॉइंट जहाँ गड़बड़ हो सकती है ना, जहाँ स्पेशल ध्यान रखना है, वो आप मेंशन कर देना, जैसे आप कहते हैं ना। हाँ
कितनी देर का प्रोसेस है बूटेबल बनने से लेके और ओएस इंस्टॉल होने में?
आप बनाओगे, फिर राइट करोगे, 25 मिनट से था इंस्टॉलेशन, बाकी टाइम इसका है
बूटेबल बनने में
सर, जैसे उबंटू में आप कह रहे हो कि डायरेक्ट हो जाती है, बूटेबल बन जाती है, उसमें भी इतना टाइम लगता है लेकिन बनने में?
मतलब 15 to 20 मिनट सकते हैं। अगर आपके पास यही ऑलरेडी इंस्टॉल्ड है तो आपको बूटेबल बनाना है, तो उसमें कुछ नहीं करना आपको,
कमांड
कमांड को पे जाके कमांड को क्या वो लोग टूल भी प्रोवाइड करते हैं, बताइए मेक बूटेबल आईएसओ सेट करिए,
में बनानी ऑलरेडी है। अच्छा, किसी और
तो आपके पास एक भी पेन ड्राइव नहीं है जिसमें बूटेबल है, इंस्टॉल कर रहा है?
हाँ वो तो हो जाएगा।
तो सर में डिटेक्ट नहीं हो रही
सर वो
थी,
उधर
अलग अलग तरीके से हो कहीं और से लेके
आइए मैडम, ले लियो।
Yeah, use it. Yeah, that's it.
सर सीधे ऑप्शन है। The admin of 3 or something.
How does it take a week to get?
Not exactly true, but there are few seats for gate student also. But usually for for teachers training. So I was teaching in a college. I have to get sponsored from that college along with all that experience criteria. And then
You are still
we are on work leave. Yeah.
you're not working.
Yeah.
Is it a sabbatical or a working?
But
Are you being paid?
no, on paper it's work leave, but no private college actually pay.
It's not sabbatical.
Yeah. And additionally, we didn't even have any bond and anything, so I can just on paper. Yeah.
So you're working here for 2 years. They are giving any stipend or something?
No stipend for us, because on paper we are on paid leave. We are getting paid. So,
Are you being charged for the
of course, yeah, of course.
being
Ah,
charged?
fees. I think 3,000 bucks for a year. Whole sum, more or less. But yeah, but less edition. Very different for even an odd sum, no? So round about that much only. You are saying for the whole year now? Yeah, we stay the whole year. Wait, wait, आप लोग क्या एमटेक कर रहे हो? Yeah, also I'm saying पीयू के अंदर है वो भी? नहीं। कराची यूनिवर्सिटी है। ओके ओके प्राइवेट आप रेगुलर teaching lectures yeah and also researchers
Isn't there was a direct fee?
yeah. जैसे फॉरेन यूनिवर्सिटी में नहीं होता कुछ परसेंटेज और कुछ ग्रेजुएशन के मार्क्स की बेसिस पे दे मेक अ पॉइंटर ऐसे करके फिर उन पॉइंटर्स के हिसाब से एक लिस्ट बनाएंगे वो लोग इसी तरह का था कि अगर मेरी फर्स्ट डिवीजन है तो आई गेट 2 पॉइंट फॉर दैट एंड इफ आई हैव 1 ईयर एक्सपीरियंस तो +1 और +2 सम मार्क्स और फिर उसके हिसाब से ग्रेडिंग होगी कर लिया एसबीआई ऑनलाइन नो Monday, I got admission without gates at SBI. That was the only reason. Actually, अगर मतलब और भी लोग ना वो कॉलेज का अपने फंड्स में से वो अरेंज करके देते हैं. इवन अगर मैं एनआईटी में एडमिशन लेते हैं कहीं पर भी ऑफिशियली नहीं होता है कि अगर आप पेड लीव पे हो तो आप यू आर नॉट एलिजिबल फॉर स्टाइपेंड. लेकिन या बट फिर क्या होता है जैसे और जगह जो कॉलेज होते हैं वहाँ कोई गवर्नमेंट फंडेड प्रोजेक्ट चल रहा होता है तो आपको वो प्रोजेक्ट में रख देते हैं रिसर्च एसोसिएट की तरह या जूनियर रिसर्च.
If you are late qualified, you are eligible.
हाँ लेकिन फर्स्ट राउंड में सब एक्सपीरियंस लेफ्ट सीट होती है उसके बाद वो एक तो पीयू का वो एग्जाम होता है ओसीईटी और गेट उसके लिए होती है. हमारी क्लास में देयर इज मिक्सचर 10 और 10 जो है वो
Late qualified are getting
हाँ दे आर गेटिंग स्टाइपेंड दे आर लो डिस्क स्पेस आ रहा था.
आपकी इधर
क्यों आ रहा था 300 जीबी होने के बाद
हाँ,
फिर ये ना थोड़ा मैंने कर्सर सेंसिटिव कर रखा है वो फास्ट डार्क सिग्निफिकेंटली स्लो भी हो गया अभी कुछ स्टार्ट किए बिना. मैडम मैं 9x की वर्कशॉप लगाई थी आपने पूछा था हाँ नेटवर्क में कैसे किया था यार इसे वापस उसके अंदर नहीं मतलब है ही नहीं. फिर उसके बाद से यही हो रहा है ना देखना पहले ये सब नहीं आ रहा था ना ग्रीन वाला
वो हो गया.
उसके बाद क्या
Automatic
किया था
हो गया?
वो ऑटोमेटिक खुद ही हो रहा है क्रिएट के बाद हमने कुछ नहीं करा था हम लेफ्ट इट एज इट इज. वो पास वाला ऑप्शन नहीं आ रहा
क्या तो कहते हो ना पास
नहीं नहीं सर
ट्वेल्व होगा ना अच्छे से आया. तब काम करती है जब आप ओएस इंस्टॉल करते हैं.
आपने बीटेक कहाँ से किया? आपने एमटेक कर रहे हैं आप?
लाना चाहिए,
फिर जो है ना,
लाना जी नहीं। मैं तब की बात कर रहा हूँ जब वो यूनिवर्सिटी नहीं थी।
और उसके बाद एमटेक? अभी आप क्या कर रहे हैं?
मैंने इधर से रिसर्च मैं एक्चुअल कर रही हूँ।
आपका बायोस ऐसे नहीं आएगा, आप जब भी start करोगे ना तो एक ऑप्शन आएगा, इसमें एक एडवांस ऑप्शन आएगा, ठीक है? नहीं आएगा ऐसे, एडवांस ऑप्शन आएगा, वहाँ से आप बुक ऑर्डर को चेंज कर सकते हो, बुक पे आएगा, फिर बायोस आएगा, अलग अलग है हर एक का, ठीक है? और आगे ऑप्शन में अगर मे बी कभी किसी का बायोस मैनेजर गायब मतलब लॉस्ट हो जाता है, समटाइम क्या होता है कि वो मैनेजर जो है, इसमें दो मैनेजर है, एक विंडोज बूट मैनेजर है, एक बायो ग्रब है, तो उसका ऑप्शन पहले आएगा वो चलेगा, नहीं नहीं रिपेयर हो जाता है, हाँ नहीं एक ग्रब रिपेयर डिस्क आता है, सॉफ्टवेयर आता है, उससे आप पेंडेंट से करके ग्रब रिपेयर कर सकते हो। नहीं तो दूसरा ऑप्शन है कि आप बायोस में ग्रब में जाके बूट में जाके विंडोज बूट मैनेजर में जाके अपने वाले ग्रब की लोकेशन डाल दीजिए, वो आ जाएगा। हाँ उसमें चेंजेस करने पड़ते हैं। नहीं कभी कभी ये होता है कि जो विंडोज बूट मैनेजर है उसकी प्रेफरेंस पहले आ जाती है, तो हर बार डिफॉल्ट में विंडोज चलता है, नहीं होता है, मैंने किया हुआ ना, मैंने फेस किया हुआ है, तो वो बायोस में जाके उसके ऑप्शन, उसमें दो ऑप्शन आएंगे, तो बंतु का आ रहेगा, एक विंडोज का आएगा, तो प्रेफरेंस अगर आप विंडोज बंतु कर दोगे तो
या
हमेशा
तो हो ही
मल्टी
नहीं
बूट
रहा
में
था
चलेगा।
या ऐसे हो गया सर।
तो यहाँ
ओके
Then start the machine, then restart the machine.
ओके उबंटू यूज करना होगा,
Then
मुझे
press
आइडिया नहीं
F2 BIOS setup for Dell, Dell पे लगाता है।
F2 for
डेट है ना, करना भी सच आता है, एडवांस ऑप्शन है, पेंडे की वजह से, पेंडे की वजह से स्लो चल रहा है, पेंडे स्लो धीरे धीरे तो बोल रहा है।
everybody will catch up. सर कुछ नहीं आ रहा है मेरी
प्रेस F2 स्टार्टअप आएगा, स्टार्टअप ज्यादा नहीं है ना, ये एक्चुअली जो ऑप्शन नहीं आ रहा है बिकॉज ऑफ वी आर गोइंग टू द बायोस सेक्शन, तो बायोस में कोई बीजीए का ऑप्शन नहीं होता, बायोस तो मशीन का है, तो कोई ओएस है नहीं, तो आपको यहाँ पे शो नहीं कराएगा, मैं दिखा देता हूँ। तो go to the boot and disable the secure boot option.
नहीं ये फर्स्ट स्टेप ही है, ये बायोस में जाने का फर्स्ट स्टेप बता रहे हैं आप।
हाँ फर्स्ट है,
क्या बराबर नहीं है?
अगर आपके पास जेन्युइन विंडो है,
हाँ
उस केस में आपको तो क्या हुआ, ऑप्शन तो आ रहा है ना, बाकी में तो आएगा, तो डिसेबल द सिक्योर बूट, ओके।
अगर जेन्युइन नहीं है तो
सर है
अगर जनरल है तो डिसेबल
डिसेबल करना पड़ेगा, ये तो इंस्टॉल नहीं करना,
और जनरल नहीं है तो
फिर कोई दिक्कत नहीं। बस मैं दिखाने के लिए कि यहाँ पे सही है
जनरल विंडो वी हैव टू डिसेबल द सिक्योरिटी।
बार एग्जिट करके सेव हो जाए,
इसके बाद
बस सेव
ओके
एंटर करके सेव
ये आपने किस में किया था? बूट में जाके?
बायोस, बायोस है सर ये बायोस
हाँ,
आई अंडरस्टैंड दैट
बायोस में बूट ऑप्शन।
बूट ऑप्शन है।
बूट ऑप्शन है ना? हाँ, वही बूट।
देखो यहाँ पे लिखा होता है रीस्टार्ट, कोई भी कंफ्यूज हो जाएगा,
रीसेट
तो वही तो बटन है, ये गलत लिखा हुआ है ना, बायोस में गलत एंट्री हो रही है, वहाँ पे रीस्टार्ट आता है।
नाम भी चेंज होना, फिर से बताना मेन
जहाँ लिखा हुआ होना चाहिए रीस्टार्ट और रीसेट लिखा हुआ है।
वो ऑलरेडी डिसेबल था।
अगर नहीं है तो डिसेबल कर दैट्स इट।
प्रायोरिटी कहाँ पे चेंज करना है टाइम
सिक्योरिटी आप में से सिक्योरिटी में मिलेगा, आगे आगे चलो, हाँ नीचे बूट ऑप्शन आ रहा है ना, एंटर करो, क्या है सिक्योर बूट है ना, वो ऑलरेडी आपका डिसेबल्ड है, ठीक है, और लेगेसी बूट को डिसेबल करो पहले, आपका 64 दिया था ना मैंने, डिसेबल करो लेगेसी बूट, ये आया था तब जब आपका 32 बिट की मशीन थी, 4 बिट की मशीन,
32 में आएगा लेगेसी बूट,
हाँ
तो उसको भी डिसेबल करना है।
नहीं उसके लिए तो कोई दिक्कत ही नहीं ना
64
सर,
बिट के लिए
प्रॉब्लम्स आई
disable
थी
करना है।
तब आई थी जब मशीन 64 बिट की आई, उस केस में प्रॉब्लम आई।
तो अभी व्हाट इज द
और ये सारी प्रॉब्लम तभी होती है जब हम वो समथिंग एल्स और ये चीजें यूज करते हैं। मेरे में कभी ये प्रॉब्लम नहीं आई।
Sir, would be the pendant. By selecting the option F9, depending on
वो तो ठीक
the
है। उसके बाद आपने नेक्स्ट स्टेप क्या किया?
next step, select किया boot drive. Boot option select किया.
लॉस ट्रैक ना आपने वो जो किया उसके बाद जो आपने
आपने
डिसेबल
डिसेबल
किया,
आपने
उसके बाद
रीस्टार्ट
save कर
किया।
दिया।
सेव कर दिया, इसका
फिर
आपने
रिस्टार्ट किया,
हाँ,
फिर boot option पे गया.
ये ना
सर आप इधर पूछेंगे तो फिर मैं दोबारा कर दूंगा.
F9 से बूट ऑप्शन पे गए
Sir,
थे।
press F2 for the boot option.
करेक्ट
अच्छा, F2, हाँ।
F2 फॉर
For F12, sorry.
F12
F12 for a boot option. वो boot option F2 से गया. सही डिपेंड करता है लैपटॉप का.
किसी में F10 भी
डेल
होता
का
है।
12 भी होता है।
9 भी होगा,
F9 से भी होता है।
HP में F9 होता है,
HP में F9 है।
सब पे नहीं होता. कॉम्पैक्ट में F9 था. हाँ, तो नया आया
या तो ये
तो
F2 है या
वो तो एक बार अपना सिस्टम रिस्टार्ट करेंगे तो नीचे लिखा आ जाएगा आगे।
सब पे नहीं आता.
क्या?
जब तक आप सिक्योर बूट ऑफ नहीं करेंगे तब तक नहीं आता.
सर एक चीज बताइए, जैसे मैंने अलॉन्ग विद विंडोज किया था तो मुझे ये सब ऑफ नहीं करना पड़ा था, ये इसी की वजह से ना।
नहीं, जब आपने चलाया था ना
हाँ।
तो आपने सॉल्व किया था, वो ऑलरेडी 64 बिट की थी, ठीक है, बस उसके बाद ये ऑप्शन आएगा, देन सेलेक्ट द पेन
सर कहाँ पे select करते हैं?
थोड़ा सा मल्टीपल
न्यू ये फाइल।
सर एक्चुअली ये इसी पेन ड्राइव का ऑप्शन है, 3 बार आ रहा है ऑप्शन. देन प्रेस
जो सेट करें ना ऑप्शंस कोई भी सिलेक्ट कर सकते हैं। नहीं ये बाद में है, स्टार्ट करने के बाद है।
गलत चला देखिए, गलत चला गया. नहीं, विंडोज चला गया. इसमें 64 डाला था ना पेन ड्राइव में. हाँ बता. पेन प्रेस करना है.
यूएसबी ड्राइव, हाँ यूएसबी अभी आ गया, हाँ बस इंस्टॉल आप में बैटरी लगा है, तो दिक्कत हो जाएगी, आपको ही करनी है। क्या प्रेस किया ना? प्रेस किया।
Disabled.
ऑलरेडी पेंडा की प्रॉब्लम ज़्यादा है, लैपटॉप में कोई दिक्कत नहीं है।
मैंने बनानी नहीं की बात है।
क्या आगे प्रोसीजर सेम रहता है क्या जैसे हम बाकी इंस्टॉल करते हैं?
हाँ वो सारी प्रोसीजर सेम है।
ये मैजिक है।
आई थिंक इसकी
हाँ, ठीक है। नहीं, लैपटॉप तो बनाने हैं।
पेंडा डिटेक्टिंग हो जाती है।
सर वो बनाना है because वो कुछ और कर
दूसरी पेंडा ऑलरेडी इंस्टॉल है, वो तोशिबा वाली से ना पेंडा हो गया इसमें इंस्टॉल हो गया। नहीं 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 कुछ नहीं, नेक्स्ट कर दो। तोशिबा लैपटॉप था ना यहाँ पर एक, सर वो तोशिबा का लैपटॉप था, उसका पेंडा वो पेंडा दे दिए
नहीं
यहाँ पे पर्सन बैठे थे, पेंडा के लिए गति छोटे से। सर आपका स्टार्ट हो गया?
उसमें वो कैसे किया
और तो नहीं कुछ मुझे
ये कर ले लेते बात।
हाँ सर वो कोई दिक्कत नहीं, इसके अलावा तो अल्टीमेटली 30 तो कुछ नहीं, इससे कोई मैटर नहीं है। 32 64 से कोई लेना है, मुझे बस लाने की कोशिश चाहिए। और पेन ड्राइव है क्या सर जिसपे इंस्टॉल है?
64 बिट वाली है तेरे पास कितनी है?
आप थर्ड पार्टी सेट कर दो,
वही तो चाहिए।
नेक्स्ट करना, ठीक है। अब ऑप्शन आएगा समथिंग एल्स का, बोला सेट कर लो, किसी मशीन पे इंस्टॉल कर रहे हो समथिंग एल्स का ही ऑप्शन सेट करना होगा, चाहे आपने ऑलरेडी इंस्टॉल कर रखा है कुछ भी करें।
सर आप वोबली बता दीजिए, एक काम करिए जो स्टेप बस ध्यान रखना है वो
वो भी उसके भी चला ना, तो देख लीजिए बाकी तो देख
कब क्यों
लो। सारे तो आप अगर आपको आइडेंटिफाई करना है कि कौन सी ड्राइव ब्लैंक पड़ी है, तो चेक द यूज स्पेस 24 एमबी मींस ऑन द परमिशन ऑफ पेज आपकी ब्लैंक पार्टीशन, ठीक है। यहाँ पर आपको थोड़ा सा यूज कर लीजिए, ये अराउंड 104 जी को 102 कर लीजिए। पार्टीशनिंग की करें तो ये इसमें कौन सी आएगी
फॉर्मेट के सेट करिए और माउंट पॉइंट यूज करिए। माउंट पॉइंट यूज करेंगे छोटे करेंगे। उसकी पैटर्न की प्रॉब्लम
निकाल के
अपने फाइल फॉर्मेट किया मैं पैटर्न यूज कर रहा हूं उसके ईमेल और शीट बनेगा। इसका एडिशन था तो 24 है
सुटेबल है ना तो आपके कंट्री
हाँ टेबल तो है, लेकिन मैं कह रही हूँ कि अब तो डिटेक्ट हो रही है ना।
डिटेक्ट तो पहले भी हो रही थी
मैंने कहा डिटेक्ट नहीं हो रही थी, वो खाता मार
हो रही
के
थी
टेबल पीडी बना लिया
टी-शर्ट के ना शेड्यूल के तो फाइल पे जाना है
हाँ अभी दोबारा जब ऑन होगा तब भी चल रहा है।
जहां पे यूज है ना सर या तो ऑप्शन आता है
सेटअप में जाना है
विदाउट फंक्शन का
फंक्शन के साथ
मेरे ये बिफोर
क्या ये इससे तो ये थी वो राइट ये
ऊपर एक मिनट ऊपर
वो इंस्टॉलिंग हां अब
ये करना
मैंने दूसरे साइड करा
ये तो है जैक हिट नहीं कर रहा बस आप इंस्टॉलिंग पे क्लिक करिए कोई ऑप्शन है तो
तो विल ट्राई। अभी आप कुछ कर रहे हैं?
नहीं बस मैं बता रहा हूँ
automatically happen right पहले बताना चाहिए तो इंस्टॉल कर जो ऑर्गेनाइजर था वो इंस्टॉल करके रख सकते
हाँ ये तो
इतना टाइम वेस्ट करना
फर्स्ट डे थोड़ा सा
का प्रॉब्लम आ रहा है अब मैं दूसरी रहने दी हूँ दूसरी पेंडर से अभी कर दूंगा ये पेंडर की प्रॉब्लम है बंद होगी पेंडर
अब उसी पेंडर देते हैं ना उससे कर लेते हैं अब ये बस इला इसके बाद कुछ नहीं करना है ऑटोमेटिक सारा बस आप लोकेशन वगैरह दीजिए विंडोज अगर आप यूज कर रहे हो में देखने में मजा आता है लेकिन करने वाले को मजा नहीं आता। ठीक है अगर आप लाइनिक्स यूज कर रहे हो इसमें करने वाले को मजा आता है और दिखाने वाले को ज्यादा मजा आता है। मतलब तो ऐसा है कि ये सब चीजें हो रही है लाइनिक्स सीधा तो सारे
टेबल बैटरी है
इवन आप मैनेज हो तो आप मैनेज नहीं है
एक्चुअली
तो अभी आपके कंट्रोल
मैंने दूसरी साइड लगाया तो भी नहीं।
ये क्या मैं बताया ना तो शिवा वाला अभी वो सर्विस का चाहिए चलेगा वो आप वाली पीढ़ी अच्छा सर के बच्चे ये मेरा सर नहीं है अरे हां चलेगा तो पेन ड्राइव में 2 GB पेन कंपारिजन जो आने के लिए तो मैं आपको पेन ड्राइव डाल दूं, आप 2 मिनट लगाओ 2 मिनट हाँ वो भी जब मैं कंपारिजन बनाऊंगा
हाँ ये कुछ ज्यादा स्लो करते हैं।
और कौन सा था अरे मैंने इसका एजेंसी को ऑलरेडी अपने जो स्पीड था उसको फाइल सिस्टम फॉर्मेट किया EXE कोड set the Unix support the 64 Unix support EXE 4 partition. Okay, uses the 64 for installation because this OS is installed on an EXE 4 partition. Okay, Unix supports all partitions but it's installed on EXE 4 partition. Okay, and rest of 2 GB space used for the swapping. When you select the drive, इस ऑप्शन पे क्लिक करेंगे आप, उसके बाद आपके पास डायलॉग बॉक्स खुलेगा, उसमें लिखा होगा यूज एज, दैट इज पार्टीशन इज यूज एज, उसमें आप क्लिक करेंगे नीचे डायलॉग बॉक्स आएगा और उसमें लिखा होगा स्वैप एरिया, बस आपको वो स्वैप एरिया सेट करके ओके करना है, वो स्वैप एरिया क्रिएट हो जाएगी, उसके बाद इंस्टॉल करिए, फिर सारा प्रोसेस नॉर्मल है। Your books you ask. आपकी मशीन ऑलरेडी यूएफआई मोड में है, लेगेसी बुक आप इंस्टॉल तो कर देंगे बट आप कभी देख नहीं पाएंगे कि आपका इंस्टॉलेशन वो हमेशा बायोस में रहेगा, आपको बार बार स्टार्टअप डिस्क पर आप एक्टिव कर सकते हैं।
आगे थोड़ा सेट करिए फिर भी नहीं आएगा
सर F9 को प्रेस करना पड़ेगा, तो ऑप्शन चेंज है,
तो बूट ऑप्शन चेंज है, वो पेन ड्राइव कर दिए।
आप F9 प्रेस करिए,
ये
बूट
पेन ड्राइव
ऑप्शन
डिटेक्ट
आएगा,
नहीं हो रही है लास्ट में, सब हो गया लास्ट में पेन ड्राइव को बूटेबल बना लिया, वो तो हो गया, और फिर जब इसे इंस्टॉल करने लग गए तो पेन ड्राइव डिटेक्ट ही नहीं हो रही है, लाल बत्ती, हाँ पेन ड्राइव में प्रॉब्लम है।
कर निकाल के दोबारा ड्राई केस में आपको लाइव लिंक दिखाएगा, आप उसे यूज करिए एज अ टेम्परेरी, आप उसमें नेट चलाइए जो मर्जी करिए, आफ्टर दैट उसके बाद अगर आपने कोई डेटा डालना है
रिफ्रेश जैसा नहीं होगा
जैसे पेन ड्राइव निकाली डेटा सेव होगा, ठीक है, अगर आपको यूज करना है जैसे नेटवर्क यूज करना है उसके लिए बेस्ट है, लगाइए चलाइए और फिर हटाइए
सेकंड पे।
इल्लुम से करना है इसी से, हाँ
वही करा आपने,
इससे आप
हाँ वही था, इसमें जो बनाई है ना
तो यहाँ
ये
पे क्या
बनाया।
करना OS
पेन ड्राइव भी ना
एक बार और ट्राई कर रहे हैं क्या मालूम चलते हैं।
बस है नहीं के आप बेस्ट हो गया ना, बस आप ये कर सकते हैं आप थ्योरी में